Alright, let's do it. What shall we call you? Just call me Leo again. It took us so long. It took us like 15 minutes last time. When it came to the name. Don't get the up yet. Here we go. I wonder if it's gonna ask me if we played before. Cough, cough. LeoXDrb. No, this is just Leo. This is just basic Leo. Here we go by the beach, soaking wet, salt water stinging the inside of your throat as if you'd nearly drowned. Water falls from your mouth as you open it to gasp for air. You have no memory of how you got here. In fact, you can only remember your own name, but know where you came from and not a single fact about your life. Sleepyhead. That should have been our name. What you do know is that despite the outrageous beauty of the landscape around you, you feel incredibly sick to your stomach. Well, really went down the wrong pipe, huh? In a minute. Okay, I go on. ... Because I can give you a minute. We got plenty of time. Endless time, really. Eternity. If you catch my drift. Whoa, not now, Ocean. Sorry, Leo. May I continue? Please go on. Okay, then. As I was. As I was saying, you let out of your feet and go deep in the crystal blue water of a nearly arrived wave. So water resets seeds back into the ocean. It reveals a grotesque discovery. Oh my god. That dead corpse. A decomposing face stares up at you from beneath the sand. All you can do is vomit. A stream of dark bile, box, worms, and other ick. Questions race through your mind. Where are you? How'd you get here? Who's behind this incredibly charming and well-spoken voice in your head? However, answers don't come easy. Your mind is completely blank. What will you do? I don't remember what. I think I just closed my eyes last time. Dick up the face. You brush the sand away from the half-buried human head embedded in the ground before you. A coin. There's no body, just his head. You should pick it up. Flakes of skin fall to the ground. The jaw falls open, revealing a gold coin sitting on the rotting tongue of this poor dead soul. Getting your head dirty, I see. I like that. You're a take charge type. Cough, cough. Mocha cough. Examine the gold coin briefly, happily distracted from what has otherwise been an extremely confusing morning. The sun beats down on you, drying your clothes. You check your pockets, but they're empty. Plenty of room for a gold coin, you suppose. And so you deposit it. Whoa, reading too. There's a lot of reading in this. Thank God it's not that long though. Pretty sure. Why is that a nice coin you got there? What if you were to spend it right now? No thanks. Yeah, why not? I'll spend it. Why not? Dwight! Well, hello there, I'm Dwight. He's attorney dating, sir? That's not a thing, is it? Hey, I'm Claudette. We'll take that. Claudette quickly relieves you of your gold coin and tosses it to Dwight, who bites down on it like an old-timey prospector before handing it back to her. And this is for you. Oh, we got the drink! Thanks, man. Thanks, Dwight. Well, that presents you with a tropical drink. You take a sip, you find out that it's incredible. Money well spent, in your estimation. I gotta ask, could somebody maybe design the next one of these dating sims to be all inclusive? It'll take some of the fun out of Fantasy Vacation to be watching your wallet the entire time. This is suspicious. Spit it out. No, drink it. I don't care if it's poisoned. As long as a final drink tastes good, that's what matters. Sus. I don't care if it's sus. I'm downing that thing. But I see. It's a common joke with these attorney. But it's a dating sim. Thank them for the delicious drink. Thanks for the drink. It's quite delicious. Yeah, welcome. The sour just fingers? Go with it, Dwight. It's not what to be thanked for doing a good job. Trust me on this one. Mine doesn't have a chance to linger any longer on your current situation. I should feel something soft bump into your foot. A woolly bottle. Drink. He didn't even describe taste. So I'll play it then. Oof, it's still quite long though. Still quite long. When you look down, you find a volleyball sitting in the sand there next to you. You stare down, frozen. A voice calls out from behind you. Little help, please. Turn around, and when you see what's waiting for you, your jaw just about hits the ground. Oh my god. What a beauty. There he is. Oh man. For this run. And the hoe that rejected us last time. That friend-zoned us. And then the Giga Chat. Oh, gorgeous monsters stand halfway between you and a well-tended volleyball court. Each of them oozes with undead energy, a magical aura reaching out and penetrating you via your eyes. Your heart begins to raise. Curiosity, fear, desire. Can't help but stare at these casually dressed, let's call them killers. I don't know. Not to be judgmental, but that's just the energy they put out there. Go after the witch. Wait, which one is the witch to you? Is she the witch to you? Oh, you're talking about the witch from DBD. Michaela. She's not in this, unfortunately. So many competing feelings rush through your mind at once that you're completely paralyzed. That one with the hat rejected you? Hell no, I'm not going for her again. Ain't no way. No. We're not wasting our time again with her. We're going for this handsome man. Exactly. She won't reject the gov. That's why it's a perfect time for you to pick up the game right now. It's 40% off on Steam. Hashtag ad, hashtag sponsor. Not Dwight. I wish we could go for Dwight. I don't think I can, though. Hello? That weird days, and then there's this. All you can do is look down at the ball and back up this monstrous lineup of, well, literal killers. Sexy as monsters, though. What do you do? Say no fags. No fags, bro. Sponsored! No, that was just a joke. We're not hashtag sponsored. Unfortunately. By behavior. Toss it back. Bend down and grab the ball. It's all been sitting in the sand on a beautiful day. When you give the ball a toss, it arcs beautifully through the air and lands right in Huntress's hands. Not bad, stranger. Huntress's muscles ripple as she grips it in her hand. You look her up and down and consider what it might be like to be held tightly in those strong arms. Warm, perhaps. Maybe a little sweaty. Well, that's okay. It's natural. Try hard much? Butch. Speaking directly to you, but you still can't bring yourself to reply. You're entranced. You snap out of it, you realize that everyone has gone back to the volleyball court. Alone again, you look across the beach at these strange residents who casually bat a volleyball back and forth. Happily ignoring your intrusion onto that private beach. Should you be frightened? Worried? Excited? I did refer to them as killers, not to give too much away. But at the same time, damn, they're looking very appealing in their own way. And nobody so much as lifted a bloody soaked finger in your direction. Don't be scared, Leo. You were made for this. Well, geez, if the spooky ocean says not to be scared, I'm sure it's all going to work out. But no good reason not to. You decide to head over and see what happens next. Seems like you've derailed the volleyball game just by showing up. But you derailed the game just by showing up, nitwit. Well, he said it too. I guess you're also a nitwit. Look, it's best to just go with what Trapper says when he says it. That's a policy I hold for pretty much anyone who always seems to have fresh blood on their hands. Hey, don't worry about it. It's all just a game. Existence, that is. Besides, you seem a lot more interesting than this silly game. What's your deal? What brings you here? Bruh, you mean they're here to do more than distract from my total domination? Deep sigh. That was Wraith. That sigh means he was done with the game too. Yeah, that he saw a butterfly or something. Look, I don't care why this slack-jawed moron is here. I just want to know, can I kill him or not? You know you can't. At least not yet. Oh yeah? Not yet? Hey Leo, you might want to say something. Actually, never mind. There'll be plenty of time for that soon enough. Radhar's group has some questions for you. But we won't answer quickly and answer well. You meant to boot up summer camp game? Meant to boot up summer camp game? Wait, what did you boot up? Monka, did you boot up this? This is a time quest and it'll be very important later. Very important. Oh, not important to me whatsoever. Probably that one. I can't remember. How attractive would you say you are? Very. I'd say very attractive. That's what you think very attractive is? Compared to this? Jabba flexes, and his muscles are so tight you can barely see the blood running through his veins. If you could have any superpower, what would it be? Invincibility. Invincibility? What? Same. Although sometimes I think I already am. What was your best subject in school? Skipping class. That's what we said last time. Let's say history this time. History. Nice. It's important to know what came before so that we are not doomed to repeat humanity's mistakes. I mean, we will anyways, but still. What's your favorite animal? A dog. Dog? You look absolutely adorable in a little poppy mask. Thanks. What's your favorite color? 3-day-old corpse. Blue. Blue isn't good for productivity. It makes people want to be lazy. What's your dream job? Nightclub promoter. That's so random. Nightclub promoter. Here. Wait, what are we saying here too? Not working at all. I think that's what I said last time too, so let's try and say nightclub promoter this time. Definitely nightclub promoter. Everyone groans and let's be honest. They're right to do so. Like folks into the dark? Not just anyone can do that. Best flavor of ice cream. Horse flesh. I can't do that. Maurice is not gonna be happy. Vanilla. My favorite my favorite flavor is pain. Same here. ... Mine is vanilla, swirled with pain. I think mint chip is the greatest flavor I ever conceived myself, but enough about ice cream, alright? Hold on a second, this reminds me. I am right. Always. It's a lesson you should learn before we go much further. Do what I say if you want to survive. Pick mint chip. We're teaching lessons now, narrator. You rascal. Killer be killed is the rule on this island. Even for faceless voices. Tell me, what's the best flavor of ice cream? Mint chip. So obedient. I think you're gonna do just fine. Anywho, now that they know so much about you, I'm sure the group wants you to start getting to know them. I'm Trapper. I pretty much run things around here. I'm the smartest, richest, strongest person in this whole island. I don't like losers. If you have to know what a loser's like, say hello to Wraith. Oh, Wraith. Hi, I'm Wraith. I'm nothing like everyone else. I like nice people and loathe the big dumb idiots. Hey, what's up? I'm Spirit. I don't like most things, including me. You don't like me, it seems. I don't really hate most things either. It's not worth my time. But the things I do hate, I really hate, you know? Based on my personal observations, life is nothing but suffering, and society is a carefully calculated lie to keep everyone subservient to those in power. It's better to choose to not just take part. Ease is like she was downright murdered by society. She hates it so much. Oh no, wait, I'm remembering Spirit's story now. And that's almost exactly what happened. Ooh, woo scene, excuse me. Hey, I'm the Huntress. Don't let these bombers get you down. There's lots of fun to be had on this island, along with loads of love. Yeah, there is, if you know what I mean. Grow up. Grow a body? Whoa. I've explained this 1,000 times. I'm dead. I'm not a literal ghost. I just create a tail of fog. I'm not made of it. Whatever, fog buddy. That's not nice. He's not nice. You'll love it. Only sometimes. Yeah, really? That's disgusting. That's why she likes it. I'll speak for me, I also hate it. I'm speaking entirely, actually. First time ever I agree with Wraith. Let's move on. Otherwise, they'll do this all day. Besides, if I know this crew, and I do, they'll just show up soon enough. If we're done playing, let's do something else instead. Whoa, for once I actually agree with the meathead. I should even go to a yacht. It's the massive boat dock nearby. I like everyone to taste the true luxury and power. Wraith rolls his eyes. Don't mind him. He just hates fun and happiness. No, I hate the endless, desperate, soul-crushing pursuit of wealth. The way it's flaunted needlessly, and the cruelty it engenders. What about hanging out by the pool? I find the water calming, simple, and beautiful. Hey, what about a volleyball game? We can exercise and have some fun as a group. Are you all serious? It's a perfectly good lounge to chill out right here. I'm tired, and besides, I hate being in the sun. Where do you want to go? We're gonna go hang out by the pool with Wraith. I'd be down for a dip in the pool. Wow, the pool? You actually want to go to the pool? I mean, sure, why not? I've got good ideas. What's wrong with my ideas? The pool is great. Everyone knows that. All over the world. If people agree on one thing, it's that pools are great. Look, we've got a whole ocean right here, and they still put it in a pool because pools are just, you know, great. It's a real special treat. Skinny dip. Yeah, we're gonna go skinny dipping with Wraith. And you thought it was bad when he stayed quiet. Look at Dwight's face. Oh, hold on! For just one moment. This is Dwight and Claudette, our activities coordinators. They're also the cooks, waiters, bartenders, janitors, and every other job. They're the only help remaining on the island. This place we call A murderous island. Huge dramatic musical flourish. None of the others survived the interview process, I mean. Hence why we shall hereforth refer to them as survivors with a capital S. These two have worked here a long time. So very long. I don't actually know how long it's been. Sorry. Anyway, I should probably let Dwight and Claudette do their mandated jobs. They sure look happy, but they're vibrating with nervous energy. It's starting to give me the creeps. We will now escort the group to the venue you're choosing. However, in the future, we recommend waiting for us to present you with your options whenever possible, and not just run off to various activities unsupervised. We don't have much autonomy around here. Least you can do is allow us to do our job. The most you can do is help us get off this Dwight! Yes, pardon me. Please, follow me. Hey, narrator. Yes? Something I can help with? These two. Oh, those two. Oh, that and Dwight. Did they just start to mention something about wanting to escape? Is escape an option? Should I be trying to escape? Escape them? Oh, no. I think you're mistaken. Seemed like Dwight was asking for help to get off this island, though. Oh, right, that's true. He was. But he just meant that he wants to get to other vacation island getaways. A couple miles south here. It has a much fancier accommodations than this island. One of those big corporate outfits, quite exclusive. All the famous celebrities hang out, very luxurious. Doesn't quite have the charm that this island has, though. Trust me. You wouldn't want to go there. With all that money comes a lot of restrictions. This is where you belong. Now, off you go. It's time for an activity. On this island, your decisions matter, mostly. But I agree with them. Not like that other island. So what'll it be? I'll hydrate. That's what it'll be for now. To the pool. Wraith moves ahead to the pool at a place that could almost be considered jaunty. The creature so lanky they appear to be made entirely of elbows and ankles could join. What's going on with Wraith's face? Is that a smile? Is that what a smile looks like when he does it? Well, what can I say? Being enveloped by water is comforting. It's quiet, it's ominous, and you know... Wraith looks back over each shoulder to make sure no one besides you is within earshot. The fire can't get me. Super normal stuff here as usual. Oh great, it's Claudette and Dwight. What do these two want? Since everyone's at the pool, we figured we'd bring over some of our most popular pool accessories. Leo, which of these is particularly interesting to you? Foam noodles? Inflatable lounger, basketball hoop, goggles, and snorkel. What the fuck is a foam noodle? Is it just that? What the fuck is a foam noodle? Yeah, I'm going to Google. Is that what I think it is? Oh yeah, it is what I think it is. These things. Scum noodle. Yeah, no, I haven't heard that before either. Scum noodle, no. I don't know what we call them. I've never had these before. I've only ever seen them in stores when I was little, during summer. But yeah, that's about it. We call them fries in French. That's a pretty good name for them. Yeah, no, I don't know what we call them in Danish. Oh yeah, what people call them, because I've never had them. And I only ever seen them in the store when I was little. During summer, and I don't remember what they were called in the store. Why can't I pick that? the swan, the pool swan. Basketball. Inflatable lounger. Well, let me. I think I already have a good idea what that is, but let me just think. Yeah, it's basically just a chair, a couch with a pool you can sit in. I'm split between that. Split between the goggles and snorkel and the inflatable lounger. Let's go with the inflatable lounger. Just lay and swim around, or float around rather. These loungers look pretty comfortable. Sleeping during the day, completely out in the open like this? You're really making yourself a target. If someone were to, I don't know, try and throw an axe directly at you, whoops, you'd sure be easy to see. Not that I'm saying I would do that to you. I prefer a challenge. Hunters may not be into it, but it sure looks like Spirit co-signs this choice. And she immediately shakes the coolest one. Well, Snake's the coolest one. It's in the shape of a casket. A really cute casket. Oh wow, that's cool. Of course she picks the one that looks like a casket. I don't really do water, but as long as I'm floating on top of it, that's fine, I guess. Hey, no, go away. I didn't mean to pick the one that you like. We're not together again in this playthrough. Get away from me. Move. Capiche. Spirit grabs you, the black unicorn floaty, and sets it in the water next to you. Next to her. The black unicorn. Well, thanks. And since you also enjoy the fine out of relaxing, here, you can share my umbrella. No, go away! I'm supposed to be spending time with the Wraith. Oh, come on, that's charming. Oh, yeah, thanks for the umbrella, I guess. Don't forget about the water and being this close to Spirit is putting you in a playful mood. You might regret. Do you splash her? Just a little bit? I'm probably she doesn't have a cell phone in her pocket. She died before they got popular. Splash gently. Sure, what's the worst that could happen? You splash in Spirit's direction ever so softly. She looks enraged. Yeah, I knew she was gonna like that. And then giggles. Giggles? She's on the giggle coaster. Didn't see that coming. Do it again and I'll cut your head off. Well, waking nightmare. You could always believe that you're starting to relax a bit and forget about how much you can't remember. It's as if the sun's very rays have a calming effect on you. Your body tranquilized with a soft light from overhead, coupled with the cool breeze rolling in from the sea. And you're not alone. I feel recharged by the gentle warmth of the ocean's caress. If it was a little too warm, that might have been my fault. What? What were you doing? Oh, so this is a pool, not the ocean. Okay, everyone, just let him finish. Thanks, Leo. I know this person doesn't seem like me, but would anyone want to play a game of Marco Polo? Yes, I love games. I'll go first. Someone blindfold me. Of course, Trapper has a blindfold ready to go. It's as if he had it in his hands before you even spoke. And did he just wink? And did you just bite your lip? What the? Hey, go away, Trap. I'm not going for you. Good thing you're getting reined in because it sure seemed like you were about to act off. Minigames consist of 2 parts. Oh yeah, it's like a skill check. Where's the space bar? Okay, ready to play? Are we like to repeat? Nah, I'm good. Here we go. Time to feel around. Go get him, Tiger. Perfect. 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 Holy fuck. Perfect. Oh my god, there's one more. Look at how fast it is. Easy. You got a perfect skull. Got an achievement too. How come minigamer? I guess there's no way to check and make sure you actually blindfold yourself. Should have thought this one through a little better. Hey Leo, that was incredible to watch. I love Marco Polo. I love that it's based on that, on the idea that, you know, the other player can't see me. But with that performance, I feel seen in a very real way. In a way I haven't felt in a long time. Welcome to our island, Leo. It's gonna be fun having you around. He already likes us. Hopefully. That was a good game. I should we celebrate. By throwing this waiter whose neighbor forgot into the pool. No, leave Dwight alone. Defend Dwight. Yeah, defend Dwight. Leave Dwight alone. Knock it off, Trapper. Ugh, you're no fun. Thank you, Leo. I won't forget this. Well, I mean, I might. Every time I think too deeply, I seem to forget every specific detail of my life beyond the basics of who I am as a person. No problem, Dwight. I got you. Anytime, my man. Anytime, Dwight. But that was still cool of you to stick up for me. I'm no expert. Even though as an omnipotent narrator, I probably should be. But I think that means it's time for the next activity. Seems like the next activity is mealtime. How? Acquainted? You're expecting what? Capture the flag? Do you know how complicated it is to run a game like that? Much more so than sitting and talking. You're at the cookout area to find this assortment of picnic tables scattered around. What were you expecting? Some kind of grand hall with a huge banquet table? This ain't some prestigious, fancy epic like you'd find on cable. Dwight call that usher to your seat. Usher you to your seat. Where there's very limited seating directly around you. And oh, great, terrific. It seems that everyone wants to sit next to you. Even better is that they don't want to sit next to certain other people either. To start, no one wants to sit next to Trap, huh? Meanwhile, he refuses to sit next to Wraith or Trickster. Oh yeah, Trickster's here. Surprise. Yeah, well, they don't call him Expecster. I'm sorry. Even I get nervous around crowds of killers. My whole shtick gets a little flustered. Hey there, you're looking good, Leo. Real good. And we literally can't let hunters and trappers sit together. No, seriously, their arms are too big. They can't fit the table if they sit side by side. Look at this. We can't even fit everyone on screen at the same time. You probably think it was an error, but no, it's not. It was completely intentional. Would that be a lesson to you? Every error you think you see is a choice. Got that? Okay. Dwight and call that a directing traffic. You sit on one tape. You sit on one side. The rest of them will sit opposite of you. Hunters and Trapper can sit at the ends with the enormous sexy arms. Now that everyone is seated, we can begin dinner. Tonight's meal was prepared slowly and carefully with both love and hate for 12 hours over a spite. A spit. Hope you all enjoy. We really hope you do. Hey, you didn't actually tell us what we're having, what you're serving. What are we eating? It's meat. Seasoned with specific number of special herbs and spices that we simply can't divulge. Oh, my favorite. Meat is good. Meat is murder. Meat. What are you giving us? It's meat. Just meat. But you'd know, considering what you've been up to, who are you going to judge now? I'm just sharing facts. You need And you need to murder something to eat. It's meat, so that's like technically true. Technically true is the best kind of true. Okay, enough yapping. Let's eat. Eat the meat. Hey, Leo. You thinking what I'm thinking? Gonna be a person on that spit, right? Or still parts of overlapping people, perhaps. Not all kinds of meat. I'll show you some meat, Mr. Wraith. That didn't have to be murdered before being served. I haven't seen many pigs wearing palm tree bottom down prints, you know. When you look closely at the spit, you spot what definitely appears to be scraps of fabric sandwiched between some layers of meat. I think I might be sick. Is there anything else to eat? This took 12 hours. And we do literally everything on this island. Actually, there's one thing you're not doing today. You're not carving up this delectable meal. Oh, he's right for change, because I am with my broad axe. It's a perfect tool for easily chopping anything in the twine. First, who says twine? Sometimes I swear it's like we're all from completely different historical eras. Second, I handle this with my cleaver. Fast, powerful, and clean. At least it's clean when the meat's cooked. No blood. You two and your ridiculous bicep swinging contest. Enough. Grow up. Obviously, my gorgeous katana is the only option. Obviously. Alright, how do this? I'll show you both my katana and send you to actual hell if you'd like. But please stop, please. I hate when we fight or talk. All you and we look at each other in the eye. I can't do it. I have the skull of ass rub. Great, instead of slicing it up, you can club it to a second death. Oh, poor Wraith. Hey Leo, no, this isn't what. Hey Leo, no, this isn't what you want to eat. But hurry up and volunteer to carve up Felix. I mean dinner. Otherwise, this will go on for hours. No hyperbole. They once argued over who had the most effective weapons for 72 hours straight. It doesn't matter which one does it. When they're done, they will take even longer cleaning their weapon, all while explaining the value in maintaining your tools. Despite being a bunch of cold-blooded killers, for some reason they are always terrified of Titanos? Eating Felix. Yeah, we're eating Felix. That's so funny he has a cameo like that in this game. He is the meat. He's what's on the menu, Felix. Hey, why don't you just let me carve up dinner? Splendid idea. We'll hate for it to get cold. He hated it when it got cold. Here's a machete, freshly sharpened. Yeah, you just told us all of this. Slice. Perfect. Perfect. Damn. Not bad. Not bad. Go away. That's pretty good. I like to see what you could do with a less clumsy weapon. Yeah, I said it. Machetes are dumb. Dinner's finally served. For real. The sounds, especially coming from the masked killers while they eat, which involves lifting that mask and shoving food up behind them. How nasty. Spirit, meanwhile, doesn't even eat. She's the only one who seems to really be embracing being dead. They're all dead, right? This is obviously hell. I mean, come on. We're still trying to be mysterious here? You think mystery comes easy? Then why aren't the only ones who've been working their asses off to make this night perfect? Well, at least they're lifting that mask. This is only 99% as disgusting as it could be if they just tried to mash stuff through that. Delicious Felix. Delicious architect Felix. Spirit, why aren't you hungry? The two best things about being dead is not having to eat. That's only one thing. Think about it, Leo. Number 2. Is no number 2? One less thing to think about in the afterlife. Even if I want to eat, I have no idea what would actually follow. You might have noticed, but I'm mostly just a bunch of dismembered body parts floating in a spectacle form. You see how deep this cut on my abdomen is? I don't think my digestive tract connects anymore. Between the food and the behavior of the group, this might be the worst meal in history. But even worse is this staring at you. You're not eating. I don't like that. I think they want an explanation why. What do you want to tell them? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't remember what we said last time. Yo, look at that seagull. This is gross. I think the Wraith might like that. Everything about this tin is an abomination. What is almost certainly human meat to the lack of manners, to talk to dismembered parts, and even these noises. Everything is so vile I might throw up. Even Spirit's talking about number 2s. I thought she was the classy one. Got another achievement. Obsessed much? Oh, well then, I didn't realize how eating half-is grossed you out. Don't be so judgmental, jeez. Sheesh. Or if I could feel shame or sadness, I might be experiencing both right now. What I can feel is rage. And I'm afraid you just ruined the meal. I have a whole leg to eat. Even though you're in the hot seat now, you're not nearly as panicked as you probably should be. That's almost certainly the lack of calories catching up to you, and you feel your whole body being shut itself. Begin to shut itself down. Oh hey, it's me again. Your friend, the mentor and guide. Narrator to the narrator. The ocean. Not sure how I feel about that characterization, but I'll allow it. I brought you here, and I might be the only one who can help you now. There's only one thing you must do to survive. You have to figure out why you're really here. No one can tell you, unless you follow the right path. Or at least, a right path. There's too many of those to count. Hopefully you pick at least one of them. There's even more wrong paths. Many of them lead to your demise. Others lead to something even worse. Yeah, like getting friend-zoned by Spirit. Starting scene's over. And having to fast forward back to where you were, am I right? But this place holds many secrets, even from itself. But the one that truly matters can only be learned if you answer the most important question. Why are you here? Why are you here? Answer that and you'll learn the truth. The ultimate truth. Vague. Mysterious. I gotta give it up to this ocean character. That's some quality early game storytelling. Oh Todd, I'm back. One more piece of advice. You've made many choices by now. Some of them I liked. Some of them I did not. It's in your best interest to make more choices that I like. How do I know what you like though? You wake up to find Wraith holding your limp body. Gently pouring cool water into your mouth. Now that you're finally alone, Wraith looks at you eagerly. You said some pretty hurtful things back there, but I'm onto you. You're trying to push us away, aren't you? I've heard of what might happen if we get close. This music. Did you really mean what you said? No. I made it up. Oh, well, thanks for being honest with me. How do I say this? It's just... honesty is important to me. I've been burned too many times. Think about the word burned makes Wraith look away. Far away. Eyes brimming with tears and yet at the same time dead. I understand. Wraith looks back at you with those sad eyes, wanting so badly to believe you. He looks down at the ground. I have something very important to tell you. It's about something very special to me. It's something I tell everyone, but you know how important honesty is to me. I can't expect that from you if I'm not honest in return. ... Oh, great. I bet he's got craps. It's about my special bell. What? His wailing bell. It belonged to my father. He gave it to me before he and my mother, well, had to go away. If I was ever in danger, I was supposed to ring this bell. It didn't really work, but it's all I have of my family with me. Whoa! Wraith, thank you for telling me. Here, hold it. Whoa, Wraith just gave you his bell? Sound the alarm. What are you gonna do with this thing? Ring the bell loudly. Just go to fucking town on the bell. Make it ring as loud as fucking possible. Cat punch the bell. Hold the bell delicately. You caress the bell, running your fingers over its rusty. Is that dried blood? Why are you touching this thing? Thank you for sharing this important part of yourself. You hand the bell back. Wraith is looking out wistfully at the ocean. The ocean's beautiful. That's not real. None of this is. Wraith looks at you, more intensely than ever. I don't know if you're ready to hear the truth. Just as things are really heating up, you hear a flurry of footsteps behind you, and you quickly spin around, ready to fend off whatever new danger has popped up on the strange island. Why? Only to find that it's Dwight and Claudette sprinting across the beach, clipboards in hand, which they're waving in the air above their heads. It's very important that we stick to the entry and attend each event as scheduled. Playing sick for cute floor points was not part of this evening activities. That's strictly slotted in for after campfire story time. At this rate, we'll be late. Playing sick? No, it was... No time for excuses. Well, there is. But that's scheduled for after what comes after the floating. Go, 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 go. Is it campfire time? Yeah. Drink some more water. Once everyone has gathered at the fire pit, Dwight and Claudette quickly make an announcement. We're not going to blame anyone in particular. But someone, and we're not going to say who, so don't worry, you hasn't been sticking to the schedule. That means we're behind on time for every evening activities. And we'll only have time for one person to share that special spooky nighttime story. Well, just one story, but story time's my favorite activity. This is a narrative heavy experience. You're telling us that only one person gets to share? How will we decide who? Oh great, we have to decide as a group? That never goes well. Whoever did this, step up now, I swear. I won't be angry. I really chop your head off clean. No fuss, no mush. Voice troubling, you realize this is probably it for you. You embrace your fate. Sorry everyone, I think they're talking about me. To be honest, I still don't understand how this whole scheduling thing works. I guess let's track a time while I passed out. We've been there before. Even though it's taking some pressure off of me, which is an absolute dream come true, it is really fair to... Is it really fair to pick on the newbie? Seriously, has anything here ever happened on schedule even once? Damn it, Donald! Calling Dwight Donald. Damn it, Donald, if you try to flex an authority gimmick one more time, sure help me. I'll stab your head up so quick, then I'll drown you in his blood. Cynthia. Cynthia. You two, I love to hack, slash, and slice. We all know you love to kill. It's almost all you talk about. Nobody named any names. Who even knows any names? Not us. I mean, how's my name? Who's Donald? Who's Dwight? Who even knows anymore? Call me nobody. And then it actually says nobody. But we still gotta get started story time, so. Leo, who do you think should go? Ah, damn it, that's a name. Please, pick somebody quickly so that this tropical vacation doesn't turn into a bloodbath. Yeah, when we did the spirit run through, spirit story was actually kind of nice. But we'll obviously go with the Wraith. I choose you, Wraith. Whoa, 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 whoa. This entire experience is being carefully crafted to avoid an IP infringement lawsuit. Let's be careful with the catchphrase, will you? I'm not really one for scary stories. Life is scary enough as it is. You literally carry on the skull and his spine as your little prop. As the other killers laugh, Wraith holds up his skull and gazes into its hollow, dark eye sockets. If you're looking for something Shakespearean in the story, look elsewhere. This is a tale of madness, of staring at the soul of death and never returning. How's the flirting? Well, when we went to the pool, we almost... Oh. We accidentally almost became best buds with Spirit again. Because I picked her favorite pool activity. By mistake. I didn't know she would like lounging... What was it again? Inflatable lounge or something. But no, it's fine. It was just a minor derailing. Because we're back on track with the Wraith Man. He saved us. He took care of us when we passed out. And now we're listening to his campfire story. So we're back on track with Mr. Wraith. Once upon a time, a young man worked at a junkyard. The man was quiet, kept to himself, just wanted to avoid trouble. While the boss dealt with clients, the young man operated the crusher, turning old cars into cubes of twisted metal. One day, right before crushing a car, he noticed something. Blood! His face. Dripping from the trunk. He opened it and found a frightened stranger, bound and gagged. The young man reeled. Was he about to accidentally murder the stranger? How could this have happened? He freed the stranger, who ran off into the waiting arms of the boss, the owner of the junkyard. Before his shaken employee could tell him about the mistake they had nearly made, the boss took out a knife and swiftly slit the stranger's throat. The young man fell to his knees, unable to comprehend what was happening, as he stared at the ground, too shocked to cry. The boss approached him. "What did you do?" he asked the boss. Oh, wait, the other way around. "I did your job for you." "What do you mean? That's not my job. My job is to crush the cars." The boss let out a miserable scoff in his face, contorting an evil disdain for the pathetic wrench in front of him. "Why do you think we're crushing these cars? To save space? Who do you think my clients are?" I don't know," mumbled the young man. "Yes, you do," screamed the boss. "Deep down, you've always known what was happening here. You just didn't want to admit it yourself. Your hands aren't clean. My clients give me money and I take care of their problems. Eliminate their witnesses. Tie up their loose ends. Or actually, you do." "No," the young man whimpered as the boss towered above him. "Yes, you're nothing but an executioner. And you've reaped hundreds of souls." The young man's body shook with soft spasms as he tried to stop crying. It was when the boss started laughing that it happened. Something in the young man changed. He stood up, now taller than the boss. A faint glimmer of fear overtook the snarl on the older man's face. The young man's face was empty. Empty as he grabbed the boss's throat and jacked him to the car in the crusher. Empty as he picked up the boss and stuffed him inside. Empty as he slammed the trunk down on him, its stupid fat head sticking out begging for mercy. Empty as he stared at the machine, staring at the boss and its sniveling, crying with face. Empty as he grabbed the boss's head, dug his fingers in, farther piercing the skin. Empty as he squeezed and pulled. Empty as he heard bones popping and snapping. But when the boss's head, still attached to his spine, pulled cleanly out of its disgusting saga of a body, he smiled. This game is so interesting. It's a one-of-a-kind game. Wraith stares back into the eye sockets of his skull. It doesn't matter how good you are, how innocent, how kind, how full of love you once were. When you look into the eyes of evil, you'll surely go mad. An awkward silence falls upon the room until... Make a joke. I mean, that's what I would personally do here, probably. Either that or just start clapping. Yeah, this game is very interesting. It's one of a kind. I still can't believe this game exists. It's fucking amazing. Make a joke. I feel like he's not gonna like that. Ask about the story. That poor young man. I wonder what happened to him. Oh yeah? You may never know. He's crying. Well, wherever he is, I hope he's okay. Can't tell, but I think Wraith just smiled. Sorry, it's just weird to see him do it. On that note, everyone decides it's time to take a break and split up for a little bit so they can all have a moment alone before bed. He secretly told us his backstory. Everyone leaves and you're alone by the fire. The only thing you hear is the ocean slowly lapping against the shore. That must be so nice. Indeed, this is nice. True moment of peace and tranquility that lasts for all of 7 seconds before Trickster shows up. Then he's blaring his latest song. Hey baby, you look lonely. Mind if we join? He doesn't wait for an answer. I know you've been hearing from these groupies all day. But I want you to hear something from a big fish like me. Something special those in charge of this island don't want you to hear. I'm the ultimate catch on this island. The only lobster in the ocean is sardines. No one can give you what I can. You just have to find me. Come find me, baby. Trickster leaves. You're a bit confused about what to make of this cryptic clues, but you aren't going to get any time to yourself to think about them just yet. Wraith approaches you. Hey, I'm probably not making a great impression because, I guess that's not really my thing. I just know that if you got to know me, then, I mean, look at the others. Look, the others aren't around. And I really hate the fire pit. I just kind of hate fire in general. Maybe we could go back to the pool? And like, I don't know, whatever, you know? This guy. He's so shy. And like, I don't know, whatever, we can do whatever we want at the pool, you know, I don't care, you know, whatever. Dip in the pool with the Wraith. You've come a long way in a single day. I'm not saying you shouldn't follow him. And huffle like that. Just don't forget our little talk. Okay, Mr. Ocean. You and your storyteller friend slip into the water. It's just the right temperature for an evening dip. Plus, if some jealous shark comes along and manages to jump from the ocean into the pool, you're also pretty sure your killer companion could handle it. Hey, do you remember my story? You mean the one you just told like a minute ago? Yeah. Yes. Did you, I mean, like, what'd you think of the young man in the story? Do you think he's weird? He's weird. He's not weird. I would forgive him. I would forgive him. What happened to him would make anyone snap. And who knows what happened in his past to lead him to that point. He was just trying to be good. Yes, that's all he wanted, was to be good. Well, that makes sense. Did the young man remind you of anyone? Yes? It's you. Clearly you. It's clearly you. What? No, you're carrying around the guy's skull and spine with you right now. Wraith looks at Azra's skull. Then out, then out into the middle distance, a long silence ensures. You notice the temperature has dropped significantly. Is it cold in this water now, or is it just me? I feel like my toes are turning into ice cubes. Wraith seizes up and squeezes his eyes shut. Oh no. Please, I can't be around any cube talk. That since I heard that story. From somebody else a long time ago. The story you just told us 2 minutes ago? Exactly, that one wasn't about me. Oh, I'm sorry. Usually we'd be nervous that we were about to make things awkward when we botched in. But obviously we couldn't hold a candle to whatever was happening here tonight. Either way, it's time for bed. For you, but not for us. After you go to sleep, that's when we party. After spending all day cooped up in those tight little safari-themed resort uniforms, you just know those two rage late into the night. Excuse me. Well, you're not here to party with them. You've got your own repressed relationship to tend to. You head over to the campfire, the heat is comforting on this chilly night. Looking into the crackling embers, you think about Wraith's story, about the young man who found out he was part of a sinister plot. What you don't know about your current situation is something that will terrify you? Something that will make you snap? What if you look into the eyes of evil? Or what if you like it? Before you can dwell too much on your fate, Colette and Dwight arrive. The now familiar creepy smile stretch from ear to ear. It's a bit menacing to see a smile like that lit by firelight. We must apologize for the accommodations. We weren't prepared for another guest, but we're going to make you comfortable or die trying. They hand over a pillow and a blanket and welcome you to snuggle up by the fire. Perhaps some music will put you at ease. Just try to keep the volume to a minimum. Other guests aren't the types you want to rub off the beauty sleep. As you relax and look into the fire, the radio begins to fuzz and flicker. You examine it and decide that you might adjust it down to fix it. What did we land on?
Let's talk
Oh,
about
it's this.
our community. For us, it means two major things. First of all, the community is you out there. It's you and everybody else either playing the game or talking about the game or creating content
He's talking
related
about
to the game
us.
or being inspired by the game to write music or to make outfits. It's everybody that's part of what makes Dead by Daylight this amazingly rich and passionate environment. It means groups of people who interact on every single possible social platform, in person. It means people who play together. It's even the people who play by themselves and never talk to anybody. So it's important for us to be able to break it down and figure out exactly who is part of the community and how do we listen to them? How do we get close enough that we can actually hear what makes them
What do
happy,
you mean
what
by
makes
that,
them
Gov?
excited,
It's
what
the DBD
worries
man.
them,
He's
all of this.
spanking
We need
us.
to know about that. So
Matthew.
the other part of community for us is the community team. It's our team that we built. Obviously, this was a very small thing. 4 years ago, it was pretty much just Dave and Ash and I talking to you live.
Why
and trying
is the
to sift
DBD
through
man?
every single forums
He's
which we could
everywhere.
move to today, where we have a team
You
of,
can't
I
escape
think,
him
over
even in
50
this.
people internally, some people sitting at their desks in the office, some people sitting at their desks all around the world in different countries to represent the different, pools of people around the world. And then we have, people who are halftime and people who are doing this out of the goodness of their heart. We have people that are part of the mods team, the community management team. It's a big
This
big
has
issue
actually
because
happened.
you, community,
Hey, I
might
mean, you
be
never know.
you and your friends
Maybe
and the
this
people you
is
play
actually
with,
real.
and
Maybe
the
this
forums
happened
you
in some
visit, whether
far-off
it's Reddit
island
or
in the Pacific or
Nico
something.
Nico or whatever, but it's maybe
Who
100,
knows?
maybe 1,000 people that you feel are part of that Dead by Daylight community.
I want to go to
You should
Murder
probably know
Island.
that there's probably hundreds and thousands of these pools of people around the world, and each and every one of these has their culture and their desires and their worries, and all of this is something that we need to have an understanding of, and that's what our community team internally is tasked with doing. It is a
Oh, shit, yeah.
daunting and quite intimidating
course.
task, but they've been doing an amazing job at it, and we're going to talk about exactly who these people are and how they do their job. Gabrielle Murphy is going to take us through that. We're also going to have Gab Malvar talk to us about the Fog Whisperers program, which is a super
The
interesting
Fog
bunch of
Whisper
people
program.
that are helping, you know,
Back when
bring
they
the
first
good word
announced
of
it.
Dead by Daylight to the masses as
This
possible.
speech is from the
And
40th
then we're going to
anniversary
take a
stream.
little moment to talk about all the community events and activities that we have in store for the celebrations and for this year. So here we go. All right, let's talk about our community.
The other
For us, it
ones,
means two
he
major
talks in a
things.
different one too, but one of these has like a really cool song. Oh, this is the clown music. I would be the one guy that just kills people because laws don't exist. Excuse me? Makes you say that.
Now join me on a stroll down memory lane.
Oh yeah, that's the Legion song. During a zombie apocalypse, this man saying I would kill everyone just for fun. Maybe. Maybe just once, you know, just to see what it's like. Don't quote that, though. I didn't say that. That was just a joke, okay? That was just a joke. I watch horror movies and laugh when people get killed. No, that's not what I say. I smile. You misquoted it. I smile. I just get a big smile up my face. Especially when it's Michael that murders people. That does make it better, because laughing, that makes it sound like I'm the Joker or something. I'm not the Joker, I just smile. It just makes me happy. Seeing Michael murder people. That reminds me of the Purge movies. Have you seen them? Has anyone seen the Purge movies? I forget which movie it is in, but... in one of the movies, they had like people from all around the world traveling to America on Purge Day. Because it's become like a big tourist attraction to just travel to America on Purge Day to kill people for free without going to jail. Now imagine if that was real. Imagine if the Purge was actually real in America. You would love that. It's funny too, cause yeah, in the movie they say like a handful of countries where people are coming from as tourists, and apparently in the movie they mentioned Denmark, that there is people from Denmark traveling to America as tourists to experience the Purge. I thought that was a bit funny and random that they mentioned it. I couldn't see that. Why would Danish people travel to America to kill people legally? Everyone's supposed to be so happy and friendly here. You would be fucked. Well, you're not from America though, so you'd be fine. The Purge is only in America. What do you mean by that? What makes you say I don't sound so happy and friendly? Ding, 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 ding. What the fuck? Among Us. You gonna play with him? Well, have fun. Me too. You're gonna play a game about murdering? Who's the real psycho now? You don't want to play Among Us. So let me pin this. I like this comment. It's a funny comment. It's a true comment. Maybe that's why I like it. Maybe that explains why I like it. Either way, let's continue with a wholesome, happy dating sim game. Family-friendly dating sim. Turn it off. No matter how many things you listen to, you still can't sleep. You decide to ask when it kills to spend a little more time with you until you sleepy. Oh, excuse me. Who would you like to summon to your side? As you lay by the fire. I would like to summon Michael, but he's not here, is he? Well, what we, man. Wraith. Are you around? I was wondering if I could get a little company. I can't really sleep. Oh, that happens to me a lot. Okay, don't laugh. Promise. Promise. I guess my secret to falling asleep is listening to the sounds of bells or chimneys. Or chimes. I think of it as white noise to drown out anything you might be hearing that's keeping you up. Man's a psycho. Who, me? Maybe. Maybe, because I still remember that. The very first time I went to an anime convention and someone was dressed up as Michael Myers, man, I was just so fucking happy. I was smiling so much. And they even got a picture with him and everything. And the people were like, why are you smiling? You're supposed to look terrified. I just couldn't, man. I was just so happy to see Michael. And he was choking me, and everything else was good. I forgot where my mouth was. That too. It sounds like the beginning of a horror movie right there. There is like 303 quotes or something now. Have fun trying to find that one specific one you want. That also reminds me. I don't know if you've seen it, but yeah, there is that new Evil Dead movie. People are talking about a certain brutal cheese grater scene in the movie. Apparently really brutal and gory, but yeah, when I saw it in the cinema, it wasn't even that bad. But because it was something that only happened for like 5 seconds. You're probably not gonna watch it. Why not? I'd recommend it. It's quite good, actually. What's her action in it? And loads of blood. Might if you get bored. Yeah, it's all good. You're not too into horror movies. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not too into them as me. Who's a psychopath who likes to watch his horror movies alone. Alone in the middle of the night at midnight with all the lights off and some popcorn. That's so nice though. This is such a nice background music. The ocean and the fire crackling. So nice. Oh, well. Yeah, now it's time for you to watch them by yourself. Yeah, do what I do. Go watch a horror movie in the middle of the night. As soon as it strikes midnight, watch a horror movie and turn off all the lights in your room. And have some popcorn. That's the best way to experience a good horror movie. Background music. It's more like noise. Just background noise at this point. It's not really music. Did I say background music? I mean, it is. You said there's zombies in it, right? So it is. It's a horror show. What's a horror show? Like what, Wraith? Like those distant screams you can all hear coming from beyond the mountain? It's, if it's a bit morbid, I guess you could hold on to this chess piece of mine. What? The fuck are you doing with a chess piece? It's a knight, they're brave, like I wish I were. And the horsey is cute. I start to feel sleepy, except maybe this isn't really a sleepy feeling. Maybe you're paralyzed. Try to keep your eyes open, but you can't. Someone chops off his finger. What is this, the Yakuza? What is this, Outlast? Darkness overtakes you. The dark voice from earlier speaks to you again. It shouldn't still be as spooky by now you've had a whole day of strange voices in your head, but this one is still undeniably odd. Look, I'm not saying that my feelings are hurt because you choose to swim in some pathetic little teacup when you could swam in the vastness of the entire me, I guess. I'm just saying that you made a foolish decision and I won't forget it. My feelings aren't hurt. I just lost some respect for you, that's all. You awake suddenly to someone looming over you. Oh god. Trapper's sitting beside you, sketching a portrait. Oh, you're awake. I saw you with the Wraith right before bedtime. You should know. They're not what they seem. Not like me. Who's obviously completely honest and trustworthy. I was out checking to make sure you weren't sleeping near one of my... actually, never mind. Just be careful what you say. But since I'm here, I'd like to share 2 things with you. 1, I do not take rejection well. 2, the first thing is very important to remember. Were you drawing me? Rapper doesn't answer. You're not drawing stink lines radiating out from me, are you? Still nothing from Trapper. Look, I'm not an easy guy to get along with, but I'm an easy guy to get to spend time with. That'll make sense if you choose to spend time with me tomorrow. The rest of the scum live like rats. They wouldn't know a good time if it bit them in the ass. That man would dominate you, he sure would. The Trapper, the absolute Giga Chad. I mean, literally. Point is, if you like me, you're in for a day of luxury, extravagance, and fun. Yes, I said fun. And if I don't pick you, remember what I said earlier. Oh, it might be the last thing you ever forget. But hey, you look tired. Get some rest. Sleep. Maybe even sleep well, if you can. Just try not to roll over to the about 15 feet to your left. Finally alone. For real this time. Maybe. You drift off to sleep again. Hopefully you're not poisoned. Dreaming of DBD. The man's muscles bigger than your entire body. Sounds about right. He's Omega ripped the travel. One hug and he's gonna break every bone in your body. Wait a second, where are we? This isn't. Oh, jeez, it is. It's one of those reality show confessional rooms where all of the contestants talk directly to the camera. I think today went really well. These are some of my first interactions with someone who isn't a parent that didn't end in bloodshed or untimely perishing in my Russian cottage. So I'm not counting today as a win. I'm counting today as a win no matter what happens. What do I think of the newcomer? Do I have to say? Oh, I do. Okay. Attractive, mysterious. Really don't know that many other words since I was raised by my mom in the woods until she was skewered by an elk and I had to wash her entrails over my seraphim. That being said, the other three should make sure to be on their guard. I don't know who this newcomer will want to spend time with tomorrow, but I for one will not let my guard down easily. Who knows about the others? Talk her up? No, we're calling her the Wraith, the shy guy. We're not going for muscle mommy yet. Wraith, I think, knows more than he's letting on about this place, but he's a hard nut to crack. Meanwhile, Spirit is just screaming all the time. Major buzzkill. And Trapper? Oof. Where do we even begin with Trapper? He's a bluff. He's buff? Sure, but daddy issues much. Sheesh. She's hot. She is. Muscle mommy is. That's why we're saving muscle mommy for last. Look, I don't need anyone. I've been perfectly fine on my own since my mother died. I eat a fine diet of raw deer, bear, and human. And I'm fit as a fiddle. That being said, something about this newcomer makes me think that I might be missing out on some huge part of this thing called life. Look, I'm always full of rage. The key is knowing how to control your rage so you can use it. I'm a master of self-control. And right now, I'm using all the self-control I can muster, because today was a disaster. Let's just say that I didn't love it. Ha ha, that was funny. Laugh, I should laugh, damn it. Anyway, I'm planning to kill this idiot. Don't tell them, though. I want to lead them on a little more. It'll make it that much better for me when they're screaming. Yeah, today was fun. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Oh, really? Invest in something that might hurt me. So I don't know. Maybe we'll just see how it goes. Or maybe they'll realize I'm not the one for them. They seem pretty smart, so that's probably what'll happen. I gotta learn to go easy on myself. Who could love me if I can't love myself? You. Have you ever felt absolutely nothing inside? ... It's fine. Poor Spirit. She's lonely? Yes, then you go hook up with her. That muscle mommy. You open your eyes, the sun is shining. There's another cloud in the sky and you feel great. Totally well rested. Hey Leo, yes. What's up, Gov? It's a girl who rejected me. It sure is. That bitch. Bitch. You know you're suspicious of the fact that you fell asleep by the campfire but woke up several yards down the beach. Wait, are you on vacation? Or just say nothing more than a strange dream? No, not a dream. You're really out here for another day. Why? I have no idea. You're obviously a weirdo. Speaking of weirdos, I see the rest of the gang is hanging out on the beach. This is definitely not a dream. I wouldn't rule out a nightmare just yet, though. At least they make for a sexy bunch, no? And talk about sexy. Here comes Trixter carrying coffee. Morning, beautiful. I thought you might like a nice cup of joe. Start of this incredible day off, right? Thanks, Trixter. Yeah, we're good. The Trixter is here. He's bought us some coffee. What, you broke me? How'd you break me? What'd you do? What happened? Trixter seems especially cheerful. I'm sure there's nothing nefarious behind this joyful demeanor, though. Everyone knows musicians are morning people. I was the one to wish you luck. Today's an important one. My only regret is that I won't be a bigger part of it. Budgeting issues. Also, I'm just swamped with engagements, especially on the other island. Trickster winks at you. If you want to ask him how to reach the other island, now is the time. Never mind, he left. Well, at least he bought me a cup of... No, wait, don't drink that! What the hell was that? They don't call him Trickster because he's good at a skateboard. And he definitely didn't get that name because he brings people drinks so they can have a good morning. That was almost certainly not coffee, and I don't want anyone casually poisoning, impersonating, and torturing you yet. Stop me from talking. We're good now? You can hear me now? Yeah, because the mic is still being picked up. No BS. Yeah, you refreshed though. That's some funny timing though. the stream broke for you right after you said that thing with Spirit rejecting me. Exactly, that's pretty funny timing. I guess Twitch is just trying to help me out. Twitch is trying to defend me. This is supposed to be a tropical paradise. The type of place you give a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, 2 thumbs up review to. An eternal person of pain. You thought I died. Yeah. You thought I just turned up the mic and started crying. Because you reminded me of the spirit rejecting me. Please, make sure to leave a review. It really helps with the algorithms. Just trust me, I'm looking out for you. So, can you please move on? Hey, wait a second. How did a possibly omniscient, possibly unrelated narrator physically just knock that coffee out of your hand? This is not a parliament. This is not a parliament, and the floor does not recognize the ocean to speak out of turn at this moment. I need no recognition, for I am the ocean. I dominate the land. I submerge those who defy me and become their watery grave. Actually, speaking of graves, I would like to say something. Something of grave importance. Don't get rejected. Thanks for the challenge. I'll try. I'll try not to get rejected by the shy guy. Fine, go ahead. Even if this place is an eternal personal pain, I'm not saying it is. Even a place of extreme horror can still receive a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 thumbs up review. If it's crafted with love, and or that's the type of thing you're into. You know, the ocean is right. A lot of hard work goes into a place like this. You should really judge it on its artist intent. And whenever possible, start from the mindset of giving them the benefit of the doubt. Constructing these elaborate simulations, vacations, is not easy to do. Sometimes there are small bugs or inconsistencies. But that's just the nature of the process. Perfection is overrated. The universe is filled with mysteries. You ought to celebrate those who venture to bear their souls as part of a creative process with the ultimate intent of making things for our enjoyment. Don't be overly critical of them. Are you trying to sell me on this place actually being good? You don't have to say it like that, especially after I saved you from that poorly made cup of coffee. Sorry, we should have been here 5 minutes ago. They always do this in the second morning. Sad, really. Even if we do make some great points. Oh, sure. They make great points, I agree. Can we please move on? Yes, of course. Apologies, Leo. Last few minutes aside, have you been enjoying your time on the island? Yes, I'm not suspicious. There's no options. Yes, it's been really entertaining. Yes, I've been having a lovely time. I don't remember what we said last time, but we'll just say this. Yeah, it's been really entertaining. How else can I describe my stay on this island besides really entertaining? Whoa, 10 stars, here we come. Can someone remind me to skip this section next time? Nope. We do need to ask you one more question though. You'll have to sign away your rights to say anything negative about this place. Would you please sign this non-disparagement agreement? No. Yes. Yes, I would hereby agree to participate in a verbal contract stating that I, Leo, will never say anything negative about my stay here on this island. Oh boy. Perfect. Delightful. Excellent. Yes. Yes. Hey Leo, it's still totally cool if you have constructive feedback. The place to leave that is in a positive review, because we all know that nobody reads negative reviews of games. Results like this. By the way, I see Dwayne called that have got into a trance. And with the grumbling I hear from your belly, that can mean only one thing. Breakfast. Oh, that's a good gob. I hope it's not too bad. Hope you'll have a speedy recovery. Of timing, everyone was into the dining area to load out up those sexy little bellies with pancakes and bacon, and so much for maintaining these beach butts. We're all half naked in a tropical paradise. Can we get some strawberries here? Yogurt? Magic powers will only get you so far. Even kill us with their sodium intake. You're home alone? You know what that means. Time for a good horror movie. Turn off all the lights in the building. Take your plate and sit down. Think about yesterday and the whirlwind of feelings you experienced. Danger, dread, disorientation. It was like going through puberty again, except all in one day on a beautiful and mysterious island. That too, yes. That means a nice, chill, calm early night. Hell yeah. Actually, you're not the only one doing some introspection, though. Travis stands up to talk about how his day went, in case anyone was wondering. Personally, it wasn't. I can't imagine you could make me any angrier today than you did yesterday. But I really hope you do. I really, really hope you do. Unrelated. Anyone else see where I left my cleaver? Just kidding. I always know where my cleaver is. Well, that was bizarre. Back to your breakfast, and nope. Now Hunter steps up to talk about her feelings. At this point, anything could happen. However, to all the possibilities that this strange island has in store. How open-minded. You've been in bed since 7. What, 7 this morning? Or 7 p.m.? 7 in the evening. Okay, I was about to be like, damn. You've really been taking it chill today. Well, that surely must be it. No one else would weirdly stand up during breakfast too. And just like that, here comes Spirit. But PM? Yeah, that sounds nice though. Just been chilling tonight. Gotta have room for that too on a nice Friday night. If I look especially well rested this morning, it's not because I slept well. Actually no, I'm much too dedicated to finding revenge to ever sleep again. But because you all really left me alone yesterday to be my best constantly annoyed self, and I thank you for that. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to go back to quietly resenting being trapped here with you all while looking cute doing so. Guessing Wraith has had enough time to work up the courage to speak in front of the group. Ah, perfect. There he is. Take us home, Wraith. It's like 4 p.m. Okay. This man's been omega relaxing today. Just gonna hand them in tomorrow. Gave up on them? What, like you didn't complete them fully? That may be something up about this island, but it's doing wonders for you. I meant like, you look well rested. Like you just got some good sleep and, good lord, never mind. Now they're looking at you expectantly. Wait, are you supposed to stand up and explain how yesterday made you feel? I think I need to process everything by myself. I'll see y'all soon. Damn, what a power play. Keep him wanting more. You're getting good at this game. Sexy true to life experience. Shame we didn't get to eat any breakfast, but so be it. You didn't fully complete it? Well, at least you got some of it, and well, that's better than nothing, I'd say. At least you got some of it. After breakfast, you head to the hot tub by yourself to clear your head. Yesterday wasn't short a lot. Before you get that though, something catches your attention. You hear that? Who are you addressing? Me? Well, yeah, I guess. That is okay, right? You know, might be pursuing a relationship with one of these 4 fine killers, but it feels like the person I'm getting to know the most is you, narrator. It's only okay in so much as to serve to illustrate that you've lost your mind, seeing how I'm not real and all. Yeah, I heard it this time. I think it's coming from behind the pool shed. No, stick it in there. A little more. Oh yeah, that's it. Yes. How does that feel? Intense. Nice. Yeah, that feels right. This is uncomfortable. Now I want you to take that and put it right. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Just like that? Oh, exactly like that. I swear I had no idea these two even do, whatever it is they're doing. I'm afraid to look. Please say something so they know you're close by and hear everything. Oh wow, look at this super cool bottle of Trickster Brand suntan lotion someone left on the chair. Anyone know I can buy some? Damn it. Oh, come on. A little privacy, please. Dwight is panting. I call that has a crazed look in her eyes. Sorry, I didn't know how else to let you know I was here and that I could hear you. Well, you know. Now what? What do you think you were doing? You were doing... I don't know exactly what you were doing, but it sounded like, fun? You think 2 people trying to find new ways to kill each other in a desperate search to make their own death permanent is fun? Oops. Yeah, they were just trying to murder each other. What were you thinking? We get 5 minutes to ourselves every day, and we spend it hoping if we stab each other in just the right spot, we won't get resurrected. I've come to believe that the key is finding the exact place we need to bleed out from. And I believe that place is our appendix. Where else would it be? Yeah, you would. Yeah, of course, any sane person would think that they were just trying to kill each other. Makes sense to me. Did you actually think we were me and him, Dwight? You don't have to laugh that hard. They get it. Poor Dwight. My life is a nightmare, and somehow it's never been worse than right now. Let's go, lover boy. I noted all our entry wounds, and our 5 minutes is up anyway. Good luck, Leo. You're going to need it. You dear, don't call it that. What, try to kill her? Try to find a way to murder her? Just like with Dwight? Just like what Dwight was trying to do? Then hey, if you figure out how to escape this island, please make sure your ghost tells us how. That was both a tragedy and a comedy. Crackmedy. No, you mean do it. Yeah, try to kill her. Like they were doing. Try to murder each other. Dot. Shut up, I like it. Anyway, where are we? Oh yeah. You're heading to the hot tub by yourself to clear your head. Yesterday wasn't short a lot. So far today has been exhausting too. But you're dedicated to achieving a true sense of calm. Yeah. No drama, no bullshit. Just soaking up the sun in the heated pool. What do you mean that's sad? That just means I'm an expert comedian. Master comedian, just like the game. Today you're on a date with you. I like that. I want to be on a date with me. Who would make the first move? And aside from that disturbing thought, all is going to plan on till a shadow blocks your precious sun. Spiky tip, like a palm tree is bending over to screw with you. But it's no tree at all, it's... Yo, it's him. Hey, babe! Breakfast was weird, huh? Everyone just getting up and announcing how they're feeling? What's that about? Some force kind of check in with the group? I don't like it. Fishy. Kinda lazy. Whatever, though. Breakfast is dumb. No one should eat before noon, or after 4 p.m. Yeah, I do intermittent fasting. You seen my abs, by the way? Maybe you can see them later. At my private stage on the other island. You know, IP Island. Where all the Hollywood celebs hang out. If you play your cards right, I could give you a private show. Catch you around. His abs are pretty amazing. You gotta give him that. And that blow-up bat, threatening but adorable. Makes for an interesting silhouette. Genius idea. What do you mean, ... My jokes is just so good that you forget to laugh. That's how good they are. He's a psychopath, just like the rest of them. You don't gotta give him anything, and we're not best friends. Just because we had a little talk about doing a little talking. It's not an open invitation to go smashing the fourth wall every 5 seconds. Okay, now that guy's gone and we've got some ground rules established that we're definitely going to abide by, it's time to lay back. Take some deep, long, slow breath and... Nope, another shadow. These people will never leave you alone. You gonna watch more of the show? Let's see who it is this time. Oh, it's Wraith. That checks out. You've gotten pretty cozy. You two have gotten pretty cozy. Hi. Sorry if this is too forward, but do you want to get out of here? I know a place. That's it's kind of I mean, it's got it's hard to explain. Actually, it's kind of weird. You know what? If you want to go somewhere else with someone else, I totally understand. But if you want to see something weird and interesting, let me know, I guess. You've been around Wraith long enough to realize that his rambling speech was actually him being incredibly brave and asking you out. Hey, you switched to Star Wars power. Nice. Well, that's gonna keep you. That's gonna keep you guys busy for a long time. Enjoy the Star Wars marathon. Alright, see you in a bit, go. But before you can decide if you want to go off with Wraith, the Huntress interjects. Hey, just wanted to give you a chance to head out with me. With me to a cute beach house instead of whatever this guy's going to take you. He'll probably read you some poetry and force you to learn about Petrov's chest defense. I mean, if you want to learn about some other Russian moves, I've got you covered. Does she mean? We're talking about Branya, the traditional Russian folk dance. You all have your minds in the gutter. And if I'm honest, I love it. Tough choice. You weigh your options quickly because you can only go on one date today, and you also don't want to be hacked to pieces for saying the wrong thing. It's always good to remember that these are all cold-blooded killers, but you know what they say, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. What's that supposed to mean in this context? And then die a horrible death, a wrenching, withering death after drinking it because the lemons was poisoned all along. Oh. Sorry, this island has really got me tilted. So who will it be? The Wraith. I gotta go with Wraith. ... Wraith? Yes? I picked you. Sorry, I stopped paying attention, and then I thought I was hallucinating. Now, really? Yes, really. Cool! Why are you taking me, Wraith? I'm gonna... Got another achievement. Wait, where the fuck did he take me? Here's my island hangout. This is what I call the cosmic dump. I know, it's one of those first... It's one of those first drafts. Gonna change the later names, but it just kind of sticks. Dump. Just being kind. It's massively a collection of seemingly ancient ruins that simultaneously appear to have been recently abandoned. Oh, you're fucked. Yeah, what is this mysterious cryptic jungle he took me to? Maybe we should have gone with Muscle Mommy. And a little beat up. They're stone obelisks. Strange carvings, ritual tables. Is that a car? Hey, it's pretty weird, like a collection of things from different, I don't know, places. Look around in awe. And then look at Wraith, expecting more of an explanation. There is a very long, very awkward pause. Try and look cute! What am I gonna do? Let's just try and look cute. You dig your toe into the dirt, trying to be cute. What? Wraith is too busy averting his eyes and dying inside to notice. And after what seems like an eternity, Wraith finally manages an entire sentence. So, what brings you to the island? You. Whoa. You're not going to explain what this weird place is? Who cares? I have no idea. Do it. He's probably gonna panic so much if I say this. I really want to say this, but I feel like he's just gonna panic. And be like, what, me? What? You smile cheekily as you practically purr. Ew. Wraith covers his face and excuses himself. You can overhear him doing breathing exercises and giving himself a pep talk in the woods nearby. See, I told you. It freaked him out. He can't handle it. It's too much for this shy guy. He's like, what? He doesn't know what to do now. The guy's gonna start hyperventilating. He comes back, blushing. So, I had to check on pee. I had to go pee. Wraith looks at you with his always sad puppy dog eyes, searching for something to say, anything to talk about. He clears his throat. You remember my bell? I showed it to you yesterday. Of course. Wraith pulls it out. The bell, you perv! Nice. I had to clarify that. Wraith pulls it out. The bell, you perv! Well, I just think it's really nice you picked me to hang out with, and, here's the bell. Wraith gifts it to you. The bell! He gives you the bell! Get your mind out of the gutter, jeez. Oh my god. I want you to have it. Please take care of it. Nice bell, I mean. Nice bell. You know how much it means to me. I promise. I'll take such good care of it. This is the sweetest gift. Wraith smiles. But even when smiling, his eyes seem sad. You smile back, knowing what a gift he just given you. I mean, it's kind of shitty because you can't really do anything with it, but it means a lot. Not to you though, to someone else. Still, cool gift. You both search for something to say, anything to talk about. During the awkward silence, look around the dump, showing some kind of ritual table, stained with blood and littered with various bottles. Nearby is what looks like some dangerous potions. What was this ancient cult up to? What the fuck is that? Looking to shake up this date? Is this a date? Yikes. Anyway, looking to shake it up, you approach the potions and pick up the fanciest one. So what will we do next? Oof. Now that's a good question. Will we drink it? I'm really tempted to drink it. Mix them. Well, I feel like mixing them would ruin it, but Why not? Let's try. Worst case scenario, they blow up, right? Take the potion and start mixing them. Wraith will probably like a science lesson, right? Why does he have such a nervous look? Your new mixture starts to smoke as Wraith's eyes go wild. The glass explodes. I knew it. Taking out the other bottles in a domino effect of highly poisonous liquid and tiny sharp shrapnel. Wraith runs in front of you and shields you from the explosion. Whoa, you certainly know how to make sparks fly. Whoa, Wraith with the double intern? Kinda lame, but I'll take it. Wraith nervously smiles. He's endearly awkward. Wait, that was it? Well, that wasn't too crazy. They exploded, nearly killed us, but the Wraith saved us. Oh, okay. That wasn't too bad then. So, I guess, tell me about your family. I had no family. Okay, edgelord. I remember my parents. They were always fighting. Oh. Wraith size. One of those long Wraith size. At least your parents were around. I'd give anything to have spent more time with mine. Even if they were fighting. Ouch. Can't win with this guy. The sexual tension in the air is palpable. Or maybe it's just the regular tension. Hard to tell with this guy. Look around for anything to distract you. What's this table for? You look at the ritual table again. It's beaten up with a giant hole in it. You look back at Wraith. Smile. You smile at Wraith. Know any rituals we could do on this table? What the hell? You wink. Nice touch. Wraith blushes and stammers and looks away. Smiling. Nice. A winky face. Yes, narrators can narrate using emojis. Wraith looks intently at the table. What's he thinking about? Probably something deep and philosophical. Intense, sad. Something about the inherent nothingness. Want to play cornhole? Oh, that. The hole in the table makes a great target. Here, we can use these skulls I found laying around. Well, this is definitely a more fun date activity. It's easy. Just stand back and, toss them in the hole. Don't worry if you miss. There are lots of more skulls around. Toss that little skull. Ready. Stop. Perfect. 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 For real? You got all of them. Even I never threw a perfect game. Amazing. I feel like you're finally warming up Wraith. So you unleash the big guns. You want to play Truth or Dare? Wraith looks mortified, but tries to keep it together. Maybe this is progress. I guess so, but only if I can ask first. Deal? Truth or Dare? Dare. I'll take a dare, why not? I dare you to tell me if you were a plant. What kind of plant would you be? What? Okay. That's not a dare. Roll your eyes. Great question. I can't even answer it. Great question. Wraith smiles. You're such a kiss ass. Road. I don't know what that is, so let's go with it. Run. Those colorful, beautiful blossoms bring me joy. They make me explode with energy and feel me alive inside. A very flowery description. But the dumb. I thought it was funny. I don't think Riff cared for it though. Too bad you can't woo me. You can't. Aw, you can't woo the narrator? That was bad, yeah. Okay, dare. Take off your shirt. Whoa! dare you to take off your shirt. Show me something. Let's go with the shirt. Dare you to take off your shirt. Tell me if you've heard this one before, but Wraith size. Well, if I didn't want to take it off in the pool, why would I now? 'Cause I'm adorable. Wraith looks at you inscrutably, like the computer chip running him shut off. Is he about to kill you? Then, another sigh, but this time, he follows up with a smile. Alright, alright. Whoa, he took off his shirt! He actually did it. Ladies and gentlemen, Wraith took off his shirt. God damn. Wait, he took it all off? Even his shorts? Jesus. Feels like a big moment. Like you won the game or something, but no. You got a lot more game left. Sorry. You applaud him as he blushes. Quickly puts his shirt back on and smiles. Reinvigorated. Wraith clears his throat. In that way, a lazy writer would make him do if they wanted to signify something important and different was coming up. Let's see if we're right. Do you have my bell? I want to show you something. We were right. Take a drink. Is this not a drinking game? To enrich opportunity. Of course I have it. You reach for it. But it's gone. Wait, how is it gone? Wraith furrows his brow. I swear I had it. I don't know what could have happened. I'll need to find it for... Oh. But Colette and Dwight burst in and interrupt. Seems like they have a very dramatic announcement. We have a very dramatic announcement. See? Told you so. But it needs to take place at the beach. Oh, no, but what about his bell? You arrive at the beach, but something feels off. You can't quite put your finger on it, but you feel uneasy and cold. Then here's why. Spirit appears as from nowhere. Hey, Leo. Bet you didn't expect this hot piece of sass. Wait, what are you doing here? Excuse me? What golf girlfriends can't make silly, sexy puns from time to time? Dwight and Claudette scram. Wait, what's happening? Yeah, I used these two simpletons to dupe you. You're easy to dupe. Maybe because deep down you wanted to be duped. You're not gonna kill me, are you? There's no way Wraith can be keeping you happy. Spirit's usual disaffected nature has given way to some combination of disgust and desperation. And it's kind of working. Wraith's a fake. He's not even a real ghost. He only pretends he doesn't want people to care about him. But really, that's all he wants. And he wants it more than anything. Can you imagine wanting something? So cringe. I bet he won't even tell you his theory about Xylem. What a fake. You deserve to be someone real. A real ghost. Someone who really doesn't give a shit. Someone who doesn't even care if you say yes or no to me. Don't even answer. I know what you're playing at, Spirit. I know what you're gonna do to me in the end. You're just gonna reject me like last time. Don't even answer. See through her desperate last-minute attempt to win your affection. It's almost sad. Turn around and walk back to Wraith without so much as saying a word. Giga Chad. Walked away. You got time for her. We know what she's playing at. You came back. No one ever comes back. Wraith is shook. Are those tears wailing up his eyes? Can't tell because he looks away. That's a sniffle, and he looks back at you, beaming. I want to show you something. You follow Wraith to a corner of the ruins that you haven't seen. He brushes aside some dead leaves and branches, revealing a hatch in the ground. The hatch! Oh my god. Want to do the honors? You open the hatch with some effort and lower yourself into a long tunnel. Grab onto a rusty ladder and beginning to descend. Oh. Be careful. Oh shit, are we escaping? What the fuck is this, Leia? Is this torture dungeon? What is this? You descended to a spooky, dimly lit room. It looks like an ancient ritual chamber with tortures, tape straws, engraved skulls, and animal remains. On one end, there's a set of incorrectly carved locks and cuff mechanisms. Mechanisms on the wall. A torture area? On the other side, a table with potions, books, and maps. Look at the map. You unfurl one of the larger rolled up pieces of cave, revealing a detailed map of the island. It's all here. Trapper's Cave, Spear's Lighthouse, Huntress' Cabin. All the common areas. Even IP Island in the corner with little hearts drawn around it. Why is that around? I figured out the layout of the entire island. I need to know what it is I'm trying to escape from. Book. Pick up one of the larger leather-bound books and Wraith walks over, opening to a specific page. You see incantations, symbols, a drawing. There's someone chained to the wall. A different language you can't read, except for the words. Called the Black Veil. Conveniently, those words are in exactly the language you can read. From everything I've found, I think that these are ruins of an ancient cult. They seem to be devoted to some type of sentient evil. I think they used this island, or maybe the person they worshipped did. I think they used this ritual site to travel to and from the island. I think they sacrificed people on this torture wall in order to open some portal out of here. Oh, so you're saying we have to... Let's sacrifice Trapper. That's probably gonna... We need bigger chains for him. You walk over to the wall and examine the chains and locks. This is some kind of torture wall. Whoa, what happened to the people here? They keep prisoners? It looks like they were tortured, but from what I've been able to dig up, it was something more. Ritualistic, serving a larger purpose. I have reason to believe these persons weren't alive for long. Do you think the cult of the Black Veil is still around? Are we in danger? I don't know, maybe, but I have a plan. All we need... What the fuck are these two doing down here? And right as you're finally about to get some of that sweet, sweet information you've been lusting after, Claudette and White pop in again. This time, they're swearing it's a good reason. I promise we're not being manipulated this time, honest. It's time for dinner, you silly gooses. Come get some food. Wait, for last time. The plural of goose is geese. Sorry, I keep forgetting. He was just about to reveal the secrets of how to get the fuck off this island. God damn, I've already gone through this water bottle. Ah. I mean, you can't really pause it. But I'll be back quick. I'm gonna go get some more water. Cause God knows I'm gonna need it for all this reading. But be really quick, gentlemen. Gonna go get some water. Nay, I have returned. More water. Alright, well, let's continue, shall we? Where's my... There you are. There you are, Twitch chat. What a fun day you've been having. I can see it written all over your face. You're shining. And that's not just the remaining anxious sweat from spending an afternoon courting a psycho killer. No, you're really feeling this whole romantic experience. Don't worry. I'll keep your dirty little secrets. But enough gentle ripping. It's time to get back to business. All the advertising singles has arrived for dinner, including Trickster. Wraith is here too. We're not going to do the gag where we cram them all on screen at the same time again. Just believe me, they're all here. And they're just as sexy as demented as you remember them. Sexy and demented. But your love on the line, everyone is being very careful not to offend you by saying the wrong thing. Congrats, by the way, on getting this far. I'm as surprised as you are with these four falling for you. Now, not because of your personality, but because you just met them yesterday. However, since Trapper seems like the biggest longshot to end up holding onto your heart, he throws caution to the wind and speaks up. It's a pretty small consolation prize for being the least loved killer on Murder's Island. But hey, allowing him to have this moment in the spotlight is the least we can do, and heaven knows they won't do any better than that. If I'm dieting solo, I'm eating what I want. And you're all eating it too. Lamb shank, rare, salt, pepper. No sauces allowed. And start with one single piece of broccoli, so Wraith won't complain. I like broccoli. Gives me horrible gas. Oh, I don't like that. Buddy, wait till you smell what red lamb does to my balls. It's awesome. Dinner will be served shortly, but certain. Power brokers would like to know about your day. Would you like to share your day with the rest of the group? You've had an interesting day, that's for sure. But how would you describe it to the others? Say too much or too little and it could affect your standing with the group. ... Okay, but don't just sit there and say nothing. Nothing's not an option. Get excited about the hatch. Probably shouldn't do that. So you had a great time. It was a blast. We had a great time and played cornhole. I won't tell you who won, but we both did in a way. Everyone rolls at their eyes. Talk about sexy? No, really. If you're gonna tell us a story, talk about something sexy instead of whatever that was. Ray smiles. You're strangely good at getting him to do that. Dwight and Claudette bring out dinner. Everyone eats in silence. No one trusts anyone now, and they're all very tired. Oh, wait. No, sorry. That's a dairy supernatural horror thriller set in Antarctica. Not a charming parody dating sim set in undisclosed tropical paradise. Bon appetit. What do you mean, bun? No, almost everything we serve has a lot of bones in it. Even the vegetables. What? How does that work? Impossible to avoid on this island. Everyone eats without speaking. Tensions are rising, both of the sexual and deadly variety. When everyone finishes, Dwight and Claudette come back to clean up the plate on the table. Linger around you as they pick up your plate, take your napkin, and dust crumbs off the table. What would you like to say to the servants? Thank them. Your top-notch service is much appreciated. Everyone, if you would please be so kind as to follow us to the fire pit. It's greatly appreciated. We've been told something big is going to happen. Something that will change everything. You can go willingly and you can go unwillingly. You have no choice. Tough cookies. Do you have a choice on how you set that dweeb? Yes, and I immediately regret how I did. Good, something needs to change around here. Fire is rebirth. Fire illuminates the soul. I hope the fire isn't too smoky. Smoke hurts my eyes. I have plenty sensitive eyes. I'm also hardly afraid of it. The fire. I mean, not my eyes, because it's just a childhood trauma involving fire. And finally, everyone starts moving toward the fire pit. If only to get away from Wraiths and complaining. Poor Wraith. Take a seat in a comfortable log, feeling the fire's heat against your skin, and wait for other killers to take their place. Wondering who will want to tell a story this time. An area to tell a story? I bet they got a stunningly creative mind. Hey, you think? Are they allowed to simply put thoughts in my mind like this? Doesn't seem fair. Everyone makes their way in, but something unexpected happens. Nothing. Nothing happens. Something almost always seems to be happening here, so nothing is probably not a great sign. ... Oh cool, now everyone is looking at you. So, you know, do something. Should I pick someone to tell a story? We could play charades. Well, we were actually thinking, why don't you tell us a story? Wraith points his spine and skull staff thingamajig at you. He duck out of his way. Who knows what that thing could do? Probably shoots lasers. Or try not to bores. Which is very interested in you. Don't speak for me, Huntress. Now you can't tell if you're warm from the fire or if it's your nerves heating up. I know that the fire is right here, but maybe if we stop talking about it all the time, we can start to pretend it's not here and doesn't, you know, friend the brothers alive. He's not supposed to hear me. Get out of here, Wraith. Leo was about to make an important decision about telling a story, though. I'm not telling the story. Fine, I'll tell a story. Sure, I'm game to tell a story. I hope it's a mystery. Okay, so what type of story do you want to tell? Romance, adventure, or action? I think, but I don't even remember what we told last time. Probably romance. Let's go with adventure. Alright. What? You like your Dwayne The Rock Johnson movies? How about some adventures? What? Excuse me. Is he also canon in the DVD universe? Huh? Now we're talking. It's not my favorite, but I respect your choice and but not politely. You don't have to say that, Wraith, just not politely. Okay, ready, here goes. I really like to go fishing. Solid hobby. Great foundation for a story, for sure. You pause. Everyone is waiting with bated breath. No pun intended. Oh wait, that's it? How much of a story? Barely even a thought. My pun was better than a story. You sure that's all you have to say? No, you were kidding. No, I was just kidding. So what type of story do you want to tell? Personal, I guess. I get a little personal now, if that's okay. Those types of tales are the best, and often the most sad. Bit of a love story. It's about how the spirit rejected me. Is it about two strong hunters who meet when they both try to plunge the same Willy Wolverine? Why in the back? Oh, about a deranged killer who makes the only woman who ever believed in him witness a display of shocking violence. Not quite. It's about my parents. They met at a party in college he was hosting. She'd been dragged by some friends. Yeah. It couldn't have been more different, and yet, as night went on, they were drawn to each other. She made fun of his taste in music, and he took an interest in her major, women's studies. They were married within 2 months. A bit soon to know if you can trust someone, don't you think? It's so sweet. Exactly. I learned a lot about love from them. If you know, you know. Some people don't need years to get acquainted with someone. Love could spark from a look across a campfire. Now you've got their attention. Each killer is furiously attempting to catch your eyes from across the fire pit. It's quite alarming, actually. It's from Trickster, who has headphones in and is loudly playing his own music to drown you out. Okay, that was not a very good story. I don't mean to insult you, but it was actually quite bad. Sorry, but this narrator keeps it real. You can't just end it there. Hold on. Need water. Ah, there we go. So who else would like to hear a story? Who else would you like to hear a story from tonight? You look from killer to killer, trying to decide who might be the most entertaining. Can we just go with Wraith again? Well, I guess if you want, let's see. What story could I tell? I could tell you what about Mami Wata, a beautiful African sea goddess who would lure men in with sex and reveal her true form as a half-woman, half-fish, making them swear to be true to her and no one else. Long story short, it usually ends badly for the men. Which, is the end of that story, I guess. My bad. Let's see. Oh, there's that one about the mysterious cult that would demand a human sacrifice to, No, that's no good. You don't want to hear that one. There's the living tree. Its branches were more like tentacles, and it used a strange liquid from its bark. One time, a girl I knew drank the liquid. She disappeared that night. But a week later, a new tree appeared. It had a very similar looking face etched into the bark. No, that's a bad story. That could never happen. What about something truly horrifying? One time I was doing my maths, and I mixed up the quadratic equation and perfect... This one's even worse, Wraith. Just for a second in my mind, I guess I was tired, but whoa. That was really scary. I want to hear more about the half-fish lady. Particularly the fish part. But it's not just you, Leo. Half the time I have no idea what the hell Travis was talking about either. When you're hot and rich and extremely scary, you start to think people will just accept whatever you say. That was story time. A lot of people like to take pot shots at sequels, but I think every good story deserves a follow-up. When you think it's the end, the sequel is almost never as rewarding as the original. That's why I'm much more a fan of the episodic style of storytelling. Knowing it's a series takes a lot of pressure off of any individual installment, and puts a greater sense of community between audience and creator. Tell me, Leo, if you could delete any sequel from existence, what would it be? Don't answer that. We don't really care. We're just here to make sure that we seamlessly move on to the next segment of the evening. Probably Halloween Ends, to be honest. God forbid my small talk get in the way of a romantic Twilight moment. Dwight, I want you to show us your yab trap. We know what we need to get back to. That thing we do when whenever we're not on screen. Okay, you have fun tonight. And try not to wink, end up dead. Why'd you say the word to wink out loud? And what kind of double intro are you getting at with the end up dead thing? Dwight is physically incapable of winking. Not since the accident. And you do know that all of these people are despicable criminals with double-digit kill counts, right? Well, except for Spirit. She really doesn't belong here. She's strictly a victim, not a perpetrator. No wonder she's pissed. Hey, somebody trash-talking Spirit? She'll be in. What do we say? What do you say we talk to the hot tub so I can soak this bod while I roast this ghost and some killer hot chicks? Please, enough talk about birds. Things that are lit are getting ablaze. It's enough that these activities have to be set next to a literal fire. Must they be surrounded by figurative flames as well? But what if we turned and ran as far away from this place as we could? Just you and me. And those spindly legs? You're probably tired before you get too far. If it's running away to someplace more secluded Leroy's after, they should obviously join me. Have you seen these legs? Pure power. Not that my walk speed really affects my giant statue, but that's because I choose to move slowly for stealthy reasons. It's my own choice and it's completely logical. Wow. It's talking about her being slower in DBD compared to the normal killers. Slightly slower. Why is everyone so obsessed with comparing themselves to each other and creating drama? I'm so all over all that. Don't you get it? Society wants you to trick you into fighting with each other so that corporations can swoop in and sell you fake solutions to all your fabricated problems. I'll be sitting in the shade and drinking something locally sourced while thumbing through a public domain novella printed on recycled paper because I refuse to play that game anymore. You tell them, Spirit. You tell them, girl. It's like she's actually trying to be as appealing as possible. Does she really turn anyone else on, or just me? Despite Trapper's insatiable appetite, it seems his attention along with the attention of everyone else, is still on you for the moment. If you could, I don't know, just pick one of us. Maybe we could all move on with our lives, or you know, some special projects we might have going. You heard him. Who will it be? Who will you head off with for an evening activity? I'm just saying, you may not get a ton of chances to date around like this before your time on Murder Island comes to a close. And no, not satisfied with that name either. But with this streaming reality TV dating show boom happening, it's pretty much all that wasn't taken. Which killer would you pick? And yes, back to excluding Trickster because, ugh, that guy. That guy. But Wraith, of course. Wraith? I knew you'd pick me. Who am I kidding? But I did pick you. Wraith immediately turns and runs away. It's not like he didn't tell you what you were getting into. Well, follow him. Back to our little secret butt. What's up with the music? Catch up to Wraith, and as usual, he appears a little anxious. Give Wraith a massage? Sure, he could ease up a bit with a nice massage. You stop and step behind Wraith, placing your hands between his shoulders and his neck before he realizes what's happening. Surprise massage! Wraith tenses up as you touch, but then relaxes. Oh, that's the spot. The normal inhibited Wraith lets out a moan before returning the favor, and before you know it, all your stress has melted from your body. Hey, this was supposed to be about you, mister. Oh, no, I didn't mean, I wanted to. He has that big sigh again. Sorry, sometimes I get two in my head. You're not understandingly. Well, maybe there's some way we can get you out of there. Just getting down and dirty in the sand. Excuse me. But just throwing it first. Sure. Let's make the move. We're making the moves here. So just getting down and dirty in the sand. I'm on a beach. Maybe we should get down and dirty in the sand. It'd be a shame to let it all go to waste. And just to make sure there's no confusion about your intentions, you wink. That will work. There's no way Wraith will misinterpret this. That's a great idea. But maybe we can both keep clean if we go grab Dwight and get him dirty instead. No, Dwight's not gonna. No. Dwight's not getting involved in this. As Wraith runs off to kidnap Dwight for some nefarious purpose, the narrator looks at you and smirks. Yes, the narrator is so smug about being right there that they are now talking in third person. Alright, I get it. You're right. Thank you. Where are they both here? Wraith returns with an exhausted-looking Dwight and some shovels. Then you realize you will now be borrowing Dwight in the sand and making a sand sculpture around his head. Oh, poor Dwight. I'm sorry, Dwight. I didn't mean for this to happen. Look, I know this isn't what you had in mind, but it still seems kind of fun. Oh, what sand sculpture do you want to build? A mermaid, a car. This isn't what you meant. A mermaid. Let's make Dwight a mermaid. Yes, just like Mommy Wata. Dig a hole the size of a person. Dwight is not happy. This is true. This truly is a Dead by Daylight experience, isn't it? What? This truly is a Dead by Daylight experience, isn't it? Yep, just like in the game. Once it's big enough, an uninfused Dwight gets in and you pile sand on him up to his neck. You put the finishing touches on Dwight. Wraith takes up a Polaroid camera and takes a pic of the three of you. He's all smiles. Dwight looks miserable. Where the hell did he get the camera from? Whoa, that really relaxed me. Thank you. Oh, whoa, it's so late. Time flies when you're on a date with the coolest person on the island. Oh, this is a date? Wraith smiles and rolls his eyes. Come on, let's get back to the group. As you start to leave, you hear Dwight whimper. Ugh, High Tide's gonna come in. I'm gonna drown. Leave Dwight to his fate. No, I have to help Dwight. You're trying to impress a killer, but that doesn't mean you can't just let Dwight drown. Quickly dig around Dwight's neck and shoulders until you can free an arm. First, it's up to you. I gotta run. Thank you, Leo. Anytime, Dwight. I'll always help you. You jog to catch up to your date. Wraith turns to you, smiling sheepishly. Whoa, this day went by so fast, but I guess it's over. I don't understand. Why is it... You strange, beautiful weirdo. What the fuck? Are you telling me I could have killed Dwight there? Bonka W. The gang's all together again on the volleyball court. Seems like only yesterday you were sitting at the sidelines watching everyone get sweaty. That's because it was. Oh wait, feels like I've been here a lot longer than that actually. It's so late that the sun is already beginning to rise. But I get this over with quickly, so that I mean you can get some beauty rest. I don't recommend the eternal damnation of perpetual narratordom. Good thing you really used your time well since then. Really getting to know the gang, the brain, the mucal, the basket case, the sidekick buddy killer. You know, the 4 types of people. Anyway, everyone is gathered at on the volleyball court for a new type of game. Pitch your dream date and see who Leo chooses. Who's ready for a round robin? How round are we talking? No, not to eat, Huntress. Each killer gets 2 minutes to tell you about the dream date they have planned for you tomorrow. In no particular order, which is a weird thing to mention, right? Almost like the order does matter. Spirit, why don't you go first? Get this over with and then you can go back to your reading books. Stop talking. Hit us, Spirit. Figuratively, damn it, Dwight. You gotta watch your words with these people. Tomorrow, you'll spit in the face of God, die and be reborn anew. That's it. If you're not intrigued by that, I don't want you. Go draw crayon out of a trap or dig up whatever mysteries of Wraith. I don't know what those guys do all day. Do you want to at least specify which god you'll be spitting in the face of? Oh, let them. Okay then, so hydrate tonight if you intend to hang out with Spirit. Trapper, without further ado, would you like to make us all uncomfortable by pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable not only in polite society, but within the narrative of this in-world event, and also the larger meta-narrative of Dead by Daylight dating experience? Sometimes you just gotta say it. Oh, why, yes, thank you, I'd love to. So Leo, you're freaking picking me? Well, this is your final warning. Pick me and be punished and rewarded. Tomorrow will suck. Probably. I'm not an easy guy to get along with. I know that. But I can tell you this much. I'm hiding a secret on this island. That will make fans shit themselves with excitement. If you like travel, you're gonna love it. And if you're not a maggot, also, everyone, even confident, sexy ladies in rabbit masks, better stay the hell away from my yacht. Great, Huntress, why don't you take it from me? Tomorrow morning, I'm planning a nice atmospheric breakfast in the yacht. Don't worry, Trapper. Won't even know. Don't worry, Trapper won't even know it's gone. What was that? Nothing. Get away. Then, oh boy, I've got such an adventure planned. It involves hunting for treasure. What kind of treasure are we looking for? Guess you'll have to pick me to find out. Let me tell you, it's primo stuff. The treasure is Huntress herself. Now, if you don't mind, I've got to stop preparing, because it's clear already that you're going to pick me. Confident, mysterious. I like it. Sorry, anyway, Wraith? Well, I don't know. I'd really prefer to just tell Leo privately. I don't really know how that's going to work with these game mechanics. What if he just whispered it to Leo? Wraith considers this for a long moment. Too long. Oh, that's fine. Without moving, Wraith lowers his voice to a barely audible whisper. Tomorrow, we have to find my bell. And then I can finally tell you about what I've been working on. It's going to be really special. It's the kind of thing where we will really bond. And maybe finally get off this island. And maybe then we can go on a real date. You done? Is that it? Wraith nods proud. And time's up. Gosh, I need to dream about these options so you're ready to choose in the morning. Now go dream about all these swoon-worthy options so that you're ready to make a choice come dawn. Have a spot night. Did you two forget to mention something? Haha, oh gosh, how could we forget? Before you run off to slumber peacefully, there's one more thing to do. No reality survival dating competition parody would be complete without singling out one of your contestants, who's already tethering on the edge of a psychological break. Giving them a little push. Hold up, this has been a survival dating competition parody this entire time, and I'm just now finding out about it? It's a long word. Come on, the signs were there, you just didn't read them. Welcome to Murder's Island. It's now time to eliminate one of the killers. Oof. It's like a butchering, but it hurts even worse. You can't kill the killer, but you can break their heart. Do you even dare try? You mean? That's right. Tomorrow one of these sexy slices will not be eligible to take you on a date. Who's it gonna be? But why? Because it's dramatic. Because it's surprising. Because it's a classic reversal of fate. And it will hurt someone's feeling. Someone dangerous. What's it gonna be, champ? What's your thought process here? Trapper seems like he might follow you in your sleep if you eliminate him. That being said, at least you'll see that him coming. Spirit could be anywhere. She floats, and I hate she can disappear. I'll just track. Eek. If you get rid of Wraith, he might cry. And although I totally support normalizing men crying and being vulnerable, it just seems like he might be an ugly crier. Huntress. She might pretend to be okay, but then you start seeing her behind every tree. What I'm trying to say is, I don't envy you, boss. So which sociopath are you eliminating? I'm eliminating the girl that rejected us last time. Get out of here, Waluigi. Later, spirit. As far as I can tell, everyone here has done terribly terrible things. Trapper, Huntress, Wraith, you're killers. Sure, you're each quirky or cute in your own way, but that doesn't change the fact that you kill. You've killed in the past. You'll almost certainly kill again. I get that. I can work with that. But you, spirit, I don't know what the hell your deal is. You don't seem to deserve to be here. At least, not on the outside. But what's on the inside? I'm truly afraid to find out. So I'm gonna have to let you go. Wait, were you talking to me? Sorry, my mind was wandering. Has anybody seen where I left my sunglasses? I was just saying that I'm eliminating you from the competition, which I just am sort of putting together as a competition. Oh, really? Okay. She's gonna fucking kill us. So nobody has seen my sunglasses. I swear I'm just gonna embrace the grandma life and get one of those bands that connects around your neck so you can't lose your glasses when you take them off. They just hang on your chest. What do you call those things? I think you just call it eyeglass straps. Maybe even eyewear retainer. Oh, you sure you're okay with this? I thought you might get upset. Nah, I couldn't care less. If anybody needs me, I'll be, I don't know, wherever the hell I want to be. Oh, well, okay, she didn't take it too hard. Nice. Hopefully she won't kill us in our sleep. Now that you've broken the heart of someone heartless, you should go get some shut-eye. And don't worry too much about the broken heart you left behind. Because of course, they'll be receiving a consolation prize. They might not get to go home with Leo when this is all over, but they'll never sleep alone again. That's right, we're sending our eliminated player home with the Trickster body pillow. Their own mostly new Trickster body pillow. The best thing next to the real Trickster. Might not hug you back, but definitely won't try and stab you. How do we know? Because I've tried it. That's right. It's Dwight tested it. Claudette approved. I hope you sleep well tonight, Leo. You're my hero for what you've accomplished. Thanks, Claudette. How can you sleep tonight knowing what you've done? No, not because of the guild. I mean, knowing that there's a legit homicidal maniac who hates you so close by. How can you sleep tonight knowing what you'll do tomorrow? I don't know how you'll do it, but you better go before Dwight and Claudette come back and put you to sleep themselves. You know those two. Schedule. Time for another inner you, though. Whoa, what a crazy way to end the day. Elimination? I didn't even know it was that kind of game. Just check in with everyone, especially with a loser. Everyone deserves a send-off. But yeah, I didn't pick you. We'll see how things go tomorrow, I suppose. I'm not expecting anything. I tend to shut my mind off during hard times. I know I seem all excited and devil may care, but the truth is, I'm really a pessimist at heart. It tends to happen when your mother is skewered by an elk when you were young. Yeah, how'd you know? I'd guess. It's also the only thing you talk about. If you'll excuse me, I think I saw a raccoon over in that tree, and I'm feeling peckish. I don't remember the last time I felt this. Nervous? Excited? Chemically, those two feelings are very similar, but I don't know. It was really great. What else do you want me to say? How would I say things are going? That's a matter of perspective. If Leo's goal is to impress me, things are going poorly. But if Leo's goal is to get himself killed, they're doing an amazing job. Oh god. Spirit? You gonna say anything? No, you just going to clean your katana and suddenly stare out ahead into the medium distance like that all night? Oh boy. Look, the katana is clean. I mean, not really. It's completely destroyed and held together by ancient magic, but it's not getting any cleaner. That's for damn sure. What? No, you're not part of this. You don't get that confessional. That's cool, man. I'm not part of anything, you feel me? I'm not a cog in anyone's machine. I'm my own machine. This whole thing's pretty cute, though. Charmingly low budget. Old school marketing vibes. Not gonna lie, I kinda wish I wasn't so busy right now. I'd definitely be down with a reality show style dating competition with survival elements. But I got my new album, upcoming tour, finalizing the new speaker line, producing a limited series of my life, starting a new social media NFT crypto app, and doing these private gigs over an IP island. Fucking NFTs. Pause the tricks that would do NFTs. My dude, you gotta check it out. IP island, it's dope. It's where the real killers are hanging out. Fully licensed, no legal drama. Lawyers, take a hike. I'm gonna tell everyone the tricks have said that about them. Don't worry. I'm talking your favorite established characters from all over pop culture. They can't be seen on this island. Hell, you probably can't even mention them like Ghost. Don't say it. Look, we get it. You're very popular and in demand. We have a game to get back to, and I don't want to get sued. Ghost face. Oh my god, he said it. Come on, no, now we're gonna be in legal trouble. Whatever, I don't even care. I'm the trickster. See you around, Leo. You too, narrator. I have a name, you know. You do? Yeah, seriously, did you not pay me enough to deal with you people? Is it my turn? What? No, it's not your turn. You're sentient water. How are you even sitting in that chair? What's a chair? It's the thing you're getting all wet. How's it gonna smell like mildew? Okay, rude. Fine, let's just get this over with. It's your turn, Ocean. Do your check-in. Check-in? I was just looking for the bathroom. Bathroom? Are you serious? Down the hall to the left. It's okay, never mind. Never mind? What does that mean? You peed on the chair. No, not you too. This wasn't meant to be a confessional time for literally every character in this game. It's okay, we don't have to confess anything. We've just been working our asses off for 2 days straight. You want to sit down somewhere? This chair's wet. Yeah, I think the ocean just peed on it. How is that You know what, I don't care. You two are looking pretty pleased with yourselves. I got something to confess. Oh, great, what's it gonna be? ate glue in the 2nd grade? You cheated on an algebra test once? Watching spirits get eliminated was the first time in this unending spiral staircase of pain that is my life that I've felt even a modicum of joy. Every minute that I'm alive is a nightmare. This place, the sun, these sweet sugary drinks. Sounds so fun for a long week before an eternity. The unrelenting rhythm of crashing waves and wailing seagulls. It's like a crescending song of evil that makes me question the very foundation of the universe. Why am I here? Why are any of us here? What kind of sentient being would do this? Please erase me from this existence. Make it so I was never born. Pull the plug on this experiment and let my soul be free. And please, please get me out of this polo shirt. Okay, let's get you back to bed, buddy. I don't want to go to bed. Going to bed means eventually I'll have to wake up. Yikes, huh? That was a weird way to end. Oh well. What are you gonna do? Let the cameraman roll long enough? Someone's bound to say something crazy. Anyways, seems like everyone's had that shot to annoy me tonight. So hit the head and get some rest. Tomorrow's gonna be doozy. Soft sunlight warms your skin, nudging you awake. Also, I'm using a killer crab as a pillow, which is it's sort of okay with. What's that? You don't know about the killer crabs? Oh right, you didn't go on that hunter's date. You really missed out. It was thrilling. Well, I guess it would have been. You'll have to play the game again to get that reference, I suppose. You'll pull on your beach attire and splash water on your face. Why not call that approach? Is that look on their face excitement? Terror? You notice your stomach flutters with butterflies. Someone's in love. Oh, you've been affected with zombie butterflies in your sleep. It has happened before here, but it's probably the love thing. Didn't get poisoned while we were sleeping. It's time! Colette gestures over to the beach where the killers all stand, flanked by tiki torches. It's a sentence that's a scene very reminiscent of a TV show you used to hate watch with your ex. Suddenly the message is clear. You're going to declare your affection for a killer in front of several other killers. Hey, isn't Trixter supposed to be here? We paid him good money to make some half-ass cameos in this show. I would choose Agent Out. But before they walk you over for your big moment. Don't think we haven't noticed how kind you've been to us, Leo. It can't be easy. Being thrown onto a mysterious island for seemingly no real reason. Surrounded by terrifying killers trying to manage your most primal impulse. Murder and making out. And you've kept a cool head and treated us. Your friendly island host. With dignity and respect. Don't tell anyone we told you this, but... Colette and Dwight look around conspicuously. Just a little hint for you. Going forward, don't try to go all the way with a killer who isn't into you. Relationships are very two-way streets. If you don't have a green light in the other direction, you might end up in the friend zone. Yeah. We know that a bit too well from last time. With the spirit. The friend zone? That doesn't sound so bad. Oh, trust me, you don't want to say that, Leo. Why do you think you are exactly? Dead by Daylight doesn't do friends. They are killers and they're survivors. And I'm afraid we can't say no more. Okay, so who's into me? Colette and Dwight look around conspicuously again. Well, you and Wraith sure were awkwardly hanging out yesterday, huh? Not many people can get him to open up, but you somehow managed it. So, are you ready? Of course you're not. We're too bad. I want a schedule. Time to pick Wraith. Hopefully he doesn't reject me. We didn't go on the date yet, though. Make your way over to the row of Hardies. Colette and Dwight stand up to the side, hands behind their backs. It's been quite the 48 hours, but there are clear sparks in the air. And I'm not just talking about the rusty chainsaw, though I do recommend staying away from those sparks. It's time for a newcomer to confess their love. Wait, I have to do a drum roll for this. No, you don't, but who cares? Leo, who do you choose for your solo date? Can we at least do the flower thing? Dwight, I thought we agreed to keep this between us. No, not that flower thing. The thing where the suitor gets a flower as a symbol of the contestant's love and affection. Oh, right, I suppose. But no roses. That's such a cliche at this point. Well, that's good, because I tried to pick a rose. But I got an ouchie, so I settled for these. Beautiful. Done good, Dwight. This is a lovely bouquet. I hope Dwight saves some of these for Claudette. That's a thing, right? You're getting the vibe. You're getting that vibe too. Just me? Sorry, sir. You got other things to think about right now. Leo, who do you select to receive these flowers and spend the day with you today? Wraith, of course. Turn to Wraith and let out a sigh. Wow, you're becoming more like him. Wraith. Since I got to this island, I have been drawn to your quiet nature. Your unassuming good looks, the nervous energy you bring to every situation, no matter how normal and mundane. I love the way your brain works. I love the way your body moves. And I love how we are together. Wraith looks like he just watched the Earth explode from an orbiting space shuttle. His mouth hangs open a little. His eyebrows twitch. No one can tell if he's too excited to process or partially dead. Got anything to say, Wraith? That sounds about right. He's so excited he doesn't know what to say. As you board the yacht, Wraith is unsurprisingly quiet, but the awkward vibes are down by about 60%. Good job, I guess. It was nice to trap him on Tia's yacht for the start of this day-long date, but a bit dismissive of him to say that you two were so boring that the yacht itself wouldn't even notice you were there. Damn. What would he know about fun anyway? He wears an old-timey one-piece bathing suit like the strongman from some bygone carnival. Very true. Come to think of it, that actually is a little funny. Riff just has a regular one-button-up shirt and shorts on. Now's not the time to think about Trapper and the way his vintage singlet hucks his curves just right. That's what he wants. Classic Trapper. You're here with Wraith, remember? Who you choose for. Some very good reason you must have, I'm sure. You cast all of the thoughts out of your mind, stand at the edge of the deck, looking out at the ocean, wondering what's out there. Right, you even are. The gentle rocking of the Wraith feels comforting as you turn to face your paramour. Wraith can barely look at you. Is it nerves or something else? Do I have something on my face, Wraith? What's up? What a jam, though. Can't believe after spending so much time with me, you still want to do it more. I'm only going to disappoint you. I can't stand anyone else here. You could never disappoint me. We'll see about that. We still have a full day ahead of us. Speaking of which, what exciting do you have planned for me today? But before we get into that, I need to tell you something. It's about me. But ultimately more about you. We spend a lot of time together. You know me pretty well. You know how easily I get flustered, how introverted and in my head I am. You know I'm awkward around other people, triggered by the sight of talk or money. Read about intimacy. But you are incredibly unkind and patient. You put up with my quirks. And after spending so much time with me, I feel like I've changed. Something about you puts me at ease. I feel different. And that's good. I had to change now to spend this day with you the way I want. Because almost there. He still can't say it. That's okay though. You smile at him warmingly. See, there it is. You always know how to comfort me. I haven't had that in a long time. Anyone I've been close to has abandoned me. Usually it gets that real, but it still hurts. Why bother trying to connect with anyone? They're just going to be brutally murdered while I watch over here or sleep through it. Hey, hello there, Amethyst. Welcome. Welcome to the DBD dating sim game. Put your hand on the shoulder. All I want is someone to love, a family to care for, not touched by evil or greed or power. A small house in the middle of nowhere, never bothered by anyone. You're the first person forever I felt like I could see a future with. Wraith holds up Azur's skull. Am I doing pretty good? I'm pretty good. It's Friday. We're having a good time with this DVD dating sim, so you're doing pretty good tonight. How about you? How are you doing on this Friday? My story about the man who pulled out his boss's skull and spine, that was about me. You almost tell him that you know. Everyone knows, but decide against it. I need more water. Ah, there we go. It's 1 AM for you. Wait, what time is it for me? No, it's also 1 here. That was fast. Are you a bit tired? Time to get some sleep? Time to get a good night's sleep. Too long I haven't been attached to Azur's skull. I have learned to find me. No more. Wraith tosses the skull into the water. Whoa, he threw his weapon into the ocean? Oh shit. As he watches it sink, you notice a gold coin on the ground that dislodged from it. You know how Wraith is with gold coins. What do you do? Wait, no. What is he like with gold coins? It's a midnight for the Gov. Well, I am an hour ahead of him. I am from good old Denmark. Good old Denmark. Denmark. Oh, does he not like coins? I forget. Oh, he doesn't like coins. I guess I'll just leave it. Alright, sure. I mean, he's not even looking, but okay. Waste an opportunity to pick up a perfectly valuable object that might come in handy very soon. Oh. Wraith turns to you, smiling. Seems like a new man. Let's go back to the dump. What a romantic sentence to start the day with. To walk into the cosmic dump, Wraith oozes nervous excitement. And before I fucked up the ending, kind of picking up the coin, I guess we'll see. Quite close to your country? What, are you from Germany or something like that? Oh gosh, I do have something incredible planned for tonight. He even tries to wink. It's kind of grotesque, but hey, the sad boy's finally opening up. He pulls up some lotions and oils. Sensational. You ready? Wait, what are we doing? That's odd. But what's wrong? No, it's just you're holding Azur's skull again. You just made a whole big thing about how you feel like you've changed and you're not defined by it, and you threw it away. Yeah, I did. Azur is terrible. I'm no longer using his skull as my security blanket. This is his brother Paul. Also a really bad guy to care. Oh, I see. Yeah, the brother. You're friends. You're from France. I see. That's pretty close, yeah. To what I guessed. Nice. Hope everything is good in France. Hope everything's good down there. I have 20 of these things, all real bad guys. Yeah, well, guess you can't really change some people. Anyways, back to our exciting night to end all nights. Let's stay here and prepare. If you want, you can go find my bell. Take a step, close and whispers. Then when you come back, we can ring it. What? Whoa, what does that even mean? I don't know, but it sounds very exciting. And look what you've done to his anxiousness. To this anxious, shy boy. He's losing his inhibitions? Maybe soon he'll be losing his clothes. Oh. To get that though, you have to find the bell. It's gotta be somewhere on this island, right? Why do you start looking? None of the above. Take another look at Wraith's hot bod. I think I found all I'm looking for right here. I told the Rise not to give you the ability to choose what you do. Because then you choose dumb things like this and I have to give you a game over. Oh. I didn't actually think that would give me a game over. I thought that would just give me more options. Whoops. Sorry, Wraith. Hold on, we're rewriting the timeline then. Oh wait, maybe I can pick up the coin now? We have to go through all this again. You never could know, disappoint me. But I also appreciate the follow. Appreciate the follow, Amethyst. Welcome, welcome. Should I pick it up? Let's see what happens if I pick it up. Good call. Never know when this might come in handy. You're smiling since we knew. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, that's nice then. Maybe it was a good thing I got the game over. So I got another chance to pick that up. And where do we go looking? The lighthouse, Trapper's Cave, or the cabin? Where do we go looking for his bell? I feel like it might be in the lighthouse. I suppose I could check out that creepy black lighthouse on the edge of the island. Lighthouses usually only have one big room at the top. Should be easy enough to search. Hopefully the spirit is not there to kill me. You turn to leave and catch Wraith winking at you again as you exit. You know what? Maybe that wasn't a wink at all. Some of the mud he uses to cover up his face is probably dripping while he sweats anxiously. You arrive at the Black Lighthouse, optimistic and full of purpose. You don't see a bell anywhere. Spirit, hello! Nothing, she's nowhere to be found. Let's be honest, her heart was never really in this process, was it? Stop poking around. Wonder if Spirit took the bell and hid it somewhere around here. Oh, hey, hot stuff. You turn to see Trickster, casually posed, light reflecting off his perfect skin. All of his many too many abs glistering perfectly. Doing some snooping? I'm looking for Spirit. Me too, actually. We were gonna do face mask and I told her I'd show her around my stage. Over at IP Island. It's tight. All the killers we couldn't clear to be in this game or hanging out over there. Just out of view. Just out of view of you and any interest in parties lawyers. Having a blast, doing shots, making content. Oh my dude, you got GOT. What the fuck does GOT mean? Get over there? You have to get over there to meet my good friend. Nope, stop right there. Not getting sued over a dating sim. I feel that. Hey, have you seen Wraith's bell anywhere? I'm not gonna lie to you, friend. I have no idea. I had no idea who you're talking about. But, maybe want to hop over to the other island. Check out my stage. Sure? Sure, maybe Spirit's already there. Trickster smiles. Just as you're about to ask how he plans on getting you there, you blink and... Oh my god, we're actually here. His stage! And he has a little generator here. You're there. Trickster's pirate stage on IP Island. It's empty. Yeah, I mean, it's hella early. Everyone's sleeping and recovering from last night's rager. Things don't get really going here till near midnight. So I have to wait till then. Do you have any fun here? Trickster smiles slightly. Oh, I wouldn't say that. How about you leave me alone for a second so I can, you know, freshen up a little first. Trickster likes that idea. As soon as that horny widow leaves. Nice. As soon as that horny weirdo leaves, you drop the charade and look around for the bell. Nothing. Afraid your cover might be blown. You dive into the water and begin the long swim back to the Black Lighthouse. Let's not do this much physical work again, okay? Ha 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 ha, this tickles. Aw, we didn't stay there for longer. As you dry off and catch your breath, you ponder your next move. So where to next? Huntress' cabin. I have a good feeling about Huntress' cabin. I love a cabin in the woods. Weird things always happen at those. People are walking into them and back out at them unscathed all the time. To Huntress' cabin. Whoa, this game's show is much bigger than you thought, huh? I might need to replay it a couple of times to really be able to grasp how much work was put into it. We're already doing that. Well, this is a nice cozy place, actually. Nice little cabin. You enter Huntress' cabin and relax. It's disarmingly cozy with a warm, quirky vibe. You feel like you could live here. If a cookie killer didn't already. You spot something shiny. Is that the bell? You reach out for it, but you're tackled from behind. It's Huntress. She holds an axe to your throat. I found you! Now I get to kill you. Say you're pranking Wraith. Beg for your life. I'm running a very complicated long con on Wraith. I'm trying to find his bell so he can do something. I don't know, but I'll probably use to play joke on him instead. Huntress's eyes sparkle. This sounds like a fun game. Want to play another one? Sure. Great, I've got the perfect game in mind. Hide and seek. Bet you can't find me. Where the hell is Muscle Mummy gonna hide? Ready or not, here I come. Oh, it's this we're doing. Wait, what the fuck? I almost can't see the hole. Perfect. 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 Fuck, that was fucked up. You missed completely. First time we've done that. Oh my god, this one is really difficult. I don't like that one. Is hard to keep track of. Teehee, you're silly. If this was really hide and seek, you'd be dead by now. But this doesn't change anything. What do you mean? I'm still mad you broke into my house. Which is too bad, because maybe I do know something about the bell. Maybe I'll tell you later. We'll see. I'm just going to another room. And you realize you're not going to get anything else here. So I possibly killed. So where do you next? Oh, I guess the Trapper's Cave. Maybe Trapper's Cave? At least I know to look out. At least I know to look out for, well, traps. With that in mind, I'm sure I can get in, and all safely find that bell. Trapper's Cave. Surely what you're looking for would be there. If not, it's not like Wraith has purposely sent you on a wild goose chase that ultimately end up pointless. Oh, he wouldn't do that. Whoa, it's so shiny down here. You enter Trapper's Cave tentatively. He is called tentatively. He is called Trapper. It stands to reason there may be some traps. Illuminated in a deep blue, the cave is home to a pool of water that shimmers and shines. Find yourself hoping Wraith's bell isn't here. You hear a voice from behind a pile of rocks, like a feeble old man calling for help. Investigate the voice? You step in front of a large pile of rocks at the mouth of a tunnel. Nothing you could hope to move, but someone much larger could possibly toss them aside with ease. A fragile voice calls out, "Hello! Who's there? Can you help me?" "Hold on, I'm coming." Desperate for help, you push against the rocks with all you might. Dislodging one near the top, it rolls off and kills you. Probably should have seen this coming. Trapper's Cave isn't the set for your average teen mystery. It's the secret lair of a trap-laying killer. Duh. No. The Trapper's Trophy achievement. Wow. Oh, we're back here now? Oh my god. And that would disappoint. Got a game over with both the Wraith, and then we get killed with the Trapper. Time to speed run back there. Pick the coin up. Can I just... I can just spam the spacebar too. Do I have to go through all three again? And just get to it. Look around the cave. You know the voice and look around the cave because you have a job to do. Hey, maybe play this again to find out who the voice belongs to. Just saying, could be fun. Oh, what's that? You found a gold coin. Oh, another one? Take it. Seems like a good choice. Oh, there's something else shiny next to it. Is that the bell? Then again, this is Trapper's cave. Trapper. You know, the trap guy. The guy who loves to leave traps. Take that too? Oh my god, no. Nope, it's a bad trap. You're dead. Like, you're gonna have to enter this cave a lot more carefully. Oh my god. I have to get back there again? I died twice in there. I was like, surely. I was like, surely I won't be able to die twice in there, but no, I was wrong. Of course the Trapper's cave is full of traps. Alright. Let's go and get our coin again. There we go. But while you're ahead. A hulking shadow falls over you. You turn to see the Trapper. You're almost falling asleep on your phone. Yeah. Sounds like it might be a good idea to head off to bed then. In that case, good night, Amethyst. Have a good one. Get some good sleep. And appreciate the follow once again. Appreciate it. Yeah, good night. Good night. Schmott, that was a bad trap. He raises his cleaver. Give me one reason I shouldn't do this. Bribe him. Tell him you're pranking Wraith. It's a long story, but I'm basically running a long con on Wraith. I'll break his heart later, but for now I need to fight. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say that. Because honesty is... Oh, God. Trapper lowers his cleaver and smiles. I was speaking my language. Wait, no, hold on. I want to do this over. Well, I think Hunter's may know something. Maybe Spirit has some idea. I don't know. For being totally honest, I've already stopped caring. Now get out. So where to next? Oh no, where can we go die again? Where can we go get a game over? I should probably be honest. I probably shouldn't tell him that I'm pranking. Back for my life. Please, I'm so sorry. I didn't know this was your cap and I wasn't doing anything bad. Please. Please forgive me. Did the wild egg offer my mother forgiveness? Why did it skewer her? Skewer her? I suppose it's skewer? Hundreds has slit your throat before you even realized it. Can't be talking about people's mom like that. Come on now. The Huntress is pretty trophy. Yeah, hold on. I don't want to bribe them. Wait, hold on a second. I don't want to say I'm pranking Wraith. I changed my mind. I would rather bribe them if it's possible. Bribe him with the coin, because yeah, maybe that's what the coin is for. Time to go through all this again. And this time, let's try to bribe him. Look around the cave. Pick that up. And then let's see if this works, bribing him with the coin. While you're ahead. Bribe him. Look, I can pay you. If you let me live, I'll give you all the gold I have. Oh, we got ourselves a tycoon. Okay, Rockefeller. How much you got? You empty your pockets and hand Trapper all the gold you've collected. This'll do. Alright, scram. You scramble out the way, but remember why you came here in the first place. Hey, you don't happen to know where Wraith's bell is, do you? Trapper laughs. Yeah, I think Huntress may know about it. Or maybe Spirit has already, I don't know. If we told her to stuff can't already dug it out. Nice. Maybe we can redo the minigame? I can't bribe her, so I have to lie. Yeah, so I have to. Now we have to play hide and seek with her. Oh boy. This one is the hardest one so far to do. Holy shit, I got it. You'd be dead by now, but doesn't change anything. What do you mean? First have to go here. Could we do anything different here with the trickster? I don't think we have a choice. What if I say no? Certainly not, I'm on a mission. Trickster shrugs. Guess we're all on our own journey. Till we meet again. As trickster advantages, you ponder your next move. Look for a name. Who'd just say no to checking out the sexy pops at special hideaway? You've already searched the spots that Hunters and Trapper hang out. Now you've also searched Spirit's spot, and by sheer dumb luck, you've bumped into Trickster too. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called you dumb, but looks like you're just going to have to admit defeat in this one and head back to Wraith empty-handed. You tried hard, you really did. If you were a game, I'll give you a good review. That being said, Wraith is, well, I don't want to say unkind because he has been really nice this whole time, but there is that whole spine-ripping thing. And I'm sorry, Wraith, I couldn't find the bell. You entered the ruins of the cosmic dump, prepared to deliver Wraith the bad news. You know he seems sweet and shy and looks like he's not a killer, but he totally is. Is there a chance he could kill you? But the place is empty. Ew, Wraith must be off somewhere. Still preparing. What are you gonna do? You still don't have the bell. I don't know, I'm trying to figure it out. Who are you talking to? Huntress pops up from behind one of the giant obelisks, smiling behind her mask. I followed you back here. It was fun, like a cat stalking prey. Oh yeah, that sounds fun. After you left, I was thinking, I want to tell you about the bell. Oh my god, Huntress, thank you! But it's going to cost you. You fish around your pockets for anything of value, but they're completely empty. I'm sorry, I don't have anything to give you. Oh, there are other ways you could pay. Don't worry, silly, nothing crazy. Haha, never do anything crazy. Oh, maybe I should have saved the gold for her? All you have to do is sing me my favorite song. Oh no, is it in Russian? Nope, it's the ABCs. What? Okay, that's all I have to do? Yeah. Damn, Huntress. Looks jazzed as hell. She's truly unhinged. If you clear your throat. Here goes. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R. Well, this is annoying, huh? Should have managed your money better. Never too late to get serious about it, you know? I have a customer who's really good with this stuff. I can put you in touch. What? Sorry, I know what you're thinking, and you're right. This isn't the first time for this. Fuck yeah, maybe I should have saved the gold for Huntress, and not the Trapper. Oh well. S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Huntress applauds like a lunatic. That was so good! Again! No. Fine. Okay, so Wraith's bell. I saw Spirit with it yesterday. She was walking back from here and she says she was eavesdropping on your date. So when you went looking, she stole it to sabotage your budding relationship with Wraith. I think she said something about a cringy truth or dare game. Yeah, don't bring that up. I think they had a feeling or something and she's still mad about it. Or not, who knows? She's definitely mad about something. Even though it's rusty and old, it's still kind of shiny, so I offered to pay her for it. But she said she had the perfect spot for it. Picked out, and at the top of the lighthouse. Oh, great! I need to go back to the lighthouse and deal with Spirit. Tell her I'll buy it from her. Oh, great! I need to go back to the lighthouse and deal with Spirit. But she wasn't there last time. Oh boy, she's gonna summon the Oni again. You return to the lighthouse and head right upstairs. No more messing around. Oh fuck, she's here. Hey! And this time, Spirit is waiting for you. Word on the street is she looking for me? Oh, are you looking for me? Why can't I save here? I want to say that. Did you have tricks to distract me? Spirit rolls her eyes. You're really piecing it together, huh, Sherlock? Alright, whatever. I messed with Wraith a little. I'm so sorry. Doesn't that sound like she's actually sorry? So you want Wraith's spell? How about we play a little game? I call it, don't look into the light or die. You can only open your eyes when I'm blocking the light. If you look directly at it, I'll die? Can I save? There we go. Precisely, you're much smarter than you look, no offense. Stop on Spirit and don't look straight into the light. If you look directly at it, your brain probably won't survive the stress. Perfect. Perfect. Ah, not bad. Hey, perfect. Perfect. Thank God that was the last one. So the light isn't completely fatal, I guess. Only half of your brain and a portion of your soul is damaged. The rest seems to be mostly okay, as far as I can tell. Spirit hands over the bell. Oh, thank you. Thanks, ma'am. Now please leave me alone. Gladly. And with that, you march triumphantly back to Wraith. Fucking Jesus, we actually did it. You excitedly walk in to see Wraith in his sexiest outfit yet. Oh my god, he took it off again. Your eyes do the cartoon thing where they buck out of your skull. Oh, whoa! Oh my god. In true Wraith fashion, his reaction is a little more subdued. He just looks at you and sort of smiles. I hope you have something for me that's gonna make me as happy as I just made you. Look at this guy, he's so open and comfortable in his own skin, cloak, paint, burnt flesh thing. Oh, let me hide it before this escalates any further. Beaming, you hold up the bell. It took me all over this island, but I found it. Spirit stole it because it's a long story. Now, you want to tell me what we'll be doing with it? Wraith holds his bell and tears up. He kisses it. Weird. Only one more thing until we can finish this. What are we finishing? What are we finishing? Or should I say who? You wink, also a nice touch. You know I can't tell you that yet. But while we wait, Wraith hands you a super sexy outfit. Outfit is maybe too strong a word. This is barely more than just a tiny bit of clothes connected by various thin elastic bits. Look at it. You look at it and bite your lip. Oh god. What is it that you're plotting, Wraith? Should I change? You'd better. You duck behind one of the obelisks and take off your clothes, slipping into your new sheer, barely free collection of straps. It is incredibly revealing. Somehow you look more naked with this on than you would if you were actually naked. It's really something. Eyes up here. Sorry. It's just so impressive. You return to Wraith and model your new outfit. Oh my god, look at him. Is that flowers blooming from his head? Holy shit. I'm wearing basically nothing. Just you wait. The lights dim. Oh dang. Is this what you've been waiting for? You little freak. Relaxed and confident. Wraith is a totally different person than the introverted loner you met when you arrived on the island. Are you ready? I want to give you my heart. I'm ready. I like how it started to lag. No, just no. The lights go out. It's so chilly. Don't worry, we'll warm up. He's not wrong. Wraith's naked skin feels like fire on yours. The fire he's been so afraid of this whole time. You melt into his arms. His lips exploring. Ooh. I should probably leave you two alone. Feels weird to be documenting this. But before I give you my heart, I'm going to give you something else. There it is. Yeah, I'm gonna head out. I'll see you in the hold up. Even in the dark, I think I know that smell. It's like salad dressing mixed with suntan oil. What, I didn't call it that? Guess they like to watch. Oh, that fault, lovebirds. Oh my god, we got cock blocked by Dwight again. just like with Spirit. Wraith, your special guest is here. A little early. Special guest? Oh, I didn't know human bodies could fit that way together. Sure they can. I'll show you when we're done tonight. What is happening right now? The lights pop back on. You and Wraith are still wearing virtually nothing. It's time to get dressed. We've got to go immediately. That's right, the secret hatch reveal time. And no, that's not some double intrendant. Follow us. Dwight and Claudette disappear into an open hatch in the ground. Wraith throws on some clothes and you both follow. Who's the guest? Even colder down here. Well, have fun. Our job pretty much stops at getting you here. Contrary to what you may have heard, we don't like to watch. Not this. See you later. Climb back up the ladder. I should turn around. Who's that? Is that his mom? First to me stands a very old Nigerian woman. Grandma Abby! Oh, Philip. They embrace. You're suddenly very aware how exposed your skin is and how chilly you are. Forgive me, Leo. This is my grandmother. Abigail, pleased to meet you, Leo. So, you're the one my little Philip has chosen. Interesting. Interesting? What does that mean? Do you need to earn respect of Grandma Abby now? Can't wait to get to know the person my Philip has decided to give his heart to. Come, help me make drinks. You go with Grandma Abby. I have to repair the bell. Happy to, Philip. Wraith looks sheepish, like he's reverted a little back to his old self. Yeah, I guess I never told you my real name. Philip Odroma. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Bow deeply. Nice to meet you, Philip Odromo. Wraith laughs, grabs his bell and leaves. Grandma Abby takes your hand and guides you to the table with potions. Oh, come, let's get some refreshments. I'm an old lady, and this is not so easy for me to mix these, actually. Exactly. My hands just aren't as steady as they once were. You'll need to help me pull. Now it doesn't seem like the time for questions, like, what is this? Oh, are we supposed to drink these possibly poisonous liquids? Just get to it. Fill that cup. What? That wasn't perfect? That could have been a bit better, but I certainly wouldn't be able to manage it. I suppose I'll have to do. Come, while we wait, I ought to make sure you're the one. Sit across from her and she smiles brightly at you. Philip has been through so much. He saw things as a child that no child should ever even think about. I fear that could
I fear what that could do to a person. But not Philip. He is a thoughtful and strong-willed. He is a good boy.
I agree. Although, thinking back to what you two were getting up to right before this, maybe you don't agree.
Tell me, Leo. Philip's birthday's coming up. What would you get him as a gift?
Gold, a nice candle, a statue of a horse. A statue of a horse. Maurice. I don't know, something big and bold. Maybe a statue, maybe of a horse. You have no idea why you said that. You immediately regret it. But Grandma Abby's face lightens up.
Wonderful. That would remind him of the knight, his favorite chess piece.
Yes, I know. You liar? Yeah, I had no idea. That was the connection.
Okay, tell me this. If Philip could be a tree, what kind of tree would he be?
I have this. A rhododendron with colorful, beautiful blossoms. They make me explode with energy and feel alive inside, like Wraith. Grandma Abby frows her brow, just enough to make you concerned.
It might make you feel that way, but that's not who Philip is.
Oh, it was the cactus.
Maybe you're just nervous. This is a strange situation, I admit.
She considers you for another beat, then calls out,
Philip, we're ready.
Okay, give me a couple more minutes. She turns back to you.
Well then, how about a game to lighten the mood before a big event? Maybe we could do some constellation trivia or play cornhole.
Well, how convenient. You have played cornhole. You may have played one of these before. Never mind the fact that they were in a different location and it makes no sense that you could do them here underground in a completely different area. You have plenty of money to make some other mini games, okay? This is Dead by Daylight. Let's have some goddamn fun for once in your life. Since one of these games may be familiar to you, who knows? You might get an extra relationship status boost if you try the other one you haven't before. Hey, let's try the trivia. I know a thing or two about constellations. Go on. Hey, who doesn't like answering random questions about constellations in a bizarre and high-stakes situation? And look at us. We're an educational game too. Grandma Abby ices you up.
Okay, Jen. What's the answer to this? This constellation is roughly translated to sea rail. It is located in a region of the sky alongside other water-related constellations.
I don't fucking know. This? Aquarius?
Grandma Abby chuckles. No, it's okay. Maybe constellations trivia isn't for everyone. Okay, next. What do we call the constellation located in the ecliptic or the path of the sun?
I don't know. This? That's out a delighted laugh.
No, in fact, I just made that word up. Oh, now we're having fun.
I'm going to pretend you let her have that one.
Last question. The constellations was first described by Nicholas Louis de Lega, roughly translated to pendulum clock.
What? The Big Dipper.
Horologium.
Abby not impressed.
Okay, I thought that was tough, but you got it. Good job.
Well, you didn't get so hot at constellation. You didn't do so hot at constellation trivia. Someone's clearly never considered that place in the universe. I'm glad you got a moment to relax. Sorry I yelled at you earlier. It's been a long game. Wraith re-enters, holding the bell. Looks brand new. I think we're ready. Time to drink up. Grandma Abby holds out the potions, drinks you made. First to Wraith, then to herself, then to you. She stops and looks at you. She stares at you down intensely with a sweet smile on her face.
No matter what you do, you cannot abandon my Philip. Do you understand? He has been abandoned his whole life. I regret leaving that bunker. His parents regret leaving our village. But he is here now, and he has opened up to you of all people. You cannot betray him. Oh, I will haunt you from my grave. And my special form is not always as nice as this one before you right now.
Thanks for the advice.
Of course, dear. Now, where were you two before I arrived?
We were about to play a board game, fully clothed, of course. Nah, we're about to do something very naughty. It's okay, she knows. She does?
Of course I do. It is a requirement of the ritual.
The what? Grandma Abby and Wraith stands up and walk to the wall with hanging chains and logs. Oh god. Hello, Gov. It's done? Oh, you guys finished the show? Nice.
Are you ready?
Oh my god, he took off his shirt again. Yes, I am finally ready to leave this place. As Grandma Abby places Wraith in chains, your jaw drops. What is happening? He is naked, he is shirtless, and he's being chained up. This is what we've been working towards. This is how we consummate our relationship. The cult of the Black Veil would do this ritual to leave and return to the island. One lover would be sacrificed and the other would do the sacrificing. Yeah, that's his actual name. His name is Philip. That's a Rave's real human name. And he's from Nigeria. No, this is crazy. I don't even know what to do. That's why Grandma Abby's ghost was summoned to help.
Philip's heart must be removed, lit on fire, and the bell rung.
Everything you've done here has been building to this. What? In shock, you look up at Wraith, arms and legs splayed against the cold, muzzy stone. You have to do the ritual. You have to carve out my hand.
You don't get an invitation like that every day. It sounds like fun, doesn't it? You've done so well. You've earned it. We're almost at the finish line. You didn't think I brought you all this way without a plan, did you? What kind of sinister body of salt water do you think I am?
I'm sorry I didn't tell you before. I couldn't. You never would have come with me on this journey. A disturbingly calm Grandma Abby hands you a jagged dagger. It seems far too dull for this job. Yeah, well, yeah, it's time to carve up the love of our life.
All he wants to do is leave this place with you. You should make that happen.
Those who slay together, stay together. Oh, that's one way of putting it. Grandma Abby's still really under very intense and disturbing circumstances. This ritual requires sacrifice on both ends. We both need to be in love with each other. I love you, and I've been waiting to give you my heart. Please, just take it. Accept Wraith's love. Sure, I'll carve you up, buddy. I love you too. Stifling tears, you accept a dagger from Grandma Abby, and, after taking a moment to compose yourself, plunge it into Wraith's chest. You're scared? No, this is perfectly fine. This is totally a perfectly normal couple thing to do. He winches and groans as you slice him up. I'm sorry. As you dig the knife in, Wraith reaches out and brushes his thumb across your cheek. Even in this nightmarish situation, your heart races and your cheeks flush red. He smiles through the pain. Your hair was covering your face. I wanted to get a better look at you. Awkward! Not as awkward as what you're actually doing though, which, to remind you, is plunging a dagger into the chest of your beloved, right after declaring your love for each other, in order to remove his heart for a strange ritual that might be completely bullshit. Real Romeo and Juliet vibes. Wraith goes limp as you insert your hand into the gaping hole you've made. It's slippery and warm, and you're not a doctor. How are you supposed to... Oh no, there it is. You've slipped your hand under his ribcage, and that is definitely your heart. Try not to vomit as you wrap your fingers around it. Take a breath and pull. It slides out surprisingly easy. Grandma Abby snips some archers and vines and takes the heart from you. Covered in blood and tears, you watch her put your beloved's heart in a stone dish and light it on fire. She takes the bell, looking fresh and shiny and new, and rings it. There's a blinding flashing light in that instant. You've heard you've killed Wraith for nothing. And then, blackness. Through the darkness, you hear the sounds of the waves lapping. It's calm and still, just like when this journey began. Remember that? Feels like it was just... Has it actually been that long ago? Oh my god, it has. Monk and W. Feels like it was just 3 hours and 12 minutes ago. You realize everything is dark because your eyes are closed. You decide to keep them that way for just one more moment. Did it. You fell in love with a killer. You made him fall in love with you. And you consummated your relationship. By agreeing to sacrifice him in a questionable ritual in order to get off this island. Did you do the right thing? Did you play the game correctly? Whoa! We did it! Look at this, man. You open your eyes, you're still here, but you feel the weight has been lifted. You look to your right. Oh boy. He's wearing nothing now. God damn. Wraith is here, alive. He has stitches on his chest. Your love is alive, but the ritual didn't work. What's going on in this place? Outside. Claudette and Grandma Abby borrowed Dwight in a hole. What? Sculpting him into a sandcastle in the shape of a T-Rex. We could join him and play in the sand, or we could get down and dirty right here in my cabana. Let's leave him out there until high tide. Maybe longer. Wraith smiles. Rah. That's Dinofor. I love you. Oh my god, we did it! The end! Is it actually the end? Not just Jabast? Oh my god, we did it! No, that was actually the end! Puck! Easy money. We fell in love and got laid with the Wraith. Puck. We completed the challenge that Gov set out for us earlier. Nice. Beautiful. Absolutely incredible. Much better ending than the spirit ending. Hey, the DBD man, Matthew Cote. What an ending, man. Well, we didn't escape the island, but hey. At least we got that sweet, sweet Wraith. I feel like that was much faster too. Compared to the first time we played it. Either way, it was great. Now we're two out of 4. The next one we'll probably go for the next time we play it. Probably gonna be Trapper Man. Thank you for playing. No problem. It was a blast. Anytime. Yeah, and then it just kicks us back to the menu. Nice. What a solid way to end this IAA April. Clap. Yeah, we'll definitely play this again another time. And then of course go for the trap. Next time we play.